हम्म। Hello guys. So I hope you all have reached safely back to your home, and those who will attend the live and watch the recorded, we can totally understand your feeling. Okay. What I want to say from my side is that the worst is over. अब हो गया जो होना था. You have given your attempt. So one thing has come true, which I was saying consistently from last few days, and that was from our experience कि last day study बहुत ज़्यादा हेल्प नहीं करेगी इस एग्ज़ाम में. और आज तो एग्ज़ाम भी ऐसा है कि बहुत ज़्यादा कन्वेंशन से हट के आया है पेपर. देखो ये यूपीएससी का एग्ज़ाम है, आपको समझना होगा. यहाँ पे आपको यू डोंट हैव टू स्कोर अ परसेंटेज. तो अब जैसा भी हुआ है पेपर, दैट इज़ वन आस्पेक्ट, एंड इट इज़ अ ऑल इंडिया एग्ज़ाम, एंड द कट ऑफ विल डिसाइड द नंबर ऑफ सिलेक्शंस. ठीक है, तो बिल्कुल डरने वाली बात नहीं है कि मेरा पेपर बहुत ख़राब हुआ है या ये क्वेश्चन क्यों आया या वो क्वेश्चन क्यों आया. येस, इट इज़ टोटली अगेंस्ट आर एक्सपेक्टेशन. हम एक सिलेबस प्रिपेयर करके गए थे, उस एक्सपेक्टेशन के अगेंस्ट है बहुत ज़्यादा पेपर. तो पैरेलली कट ऑफ नीचे जाने वाली है. ऐसा पहले भी हुआ है, हमारे टाइम पर भी हुआ है, यूपीएससी में ऐसा हो जाता है. ठीक है ना. सो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट टॉप 11,000 और 12,000 स्टूडेंट्स यूपीएससी विल गोइंग टू सिलेक्ट फॉर द मेंस. सो बहुत ज़्यादा परेशान नहीं होना है. हैव पेशेंस, रिलैक्स. बहुत दिन से बहुत हार्डवर्क चल रहा होगा, बहुत स्ट्रेस होगा, बहुत प्रेशर होगा, अच्छे से सो. नाउ द अनदर आस्पेक्ट इज दैट one thing which the difference which has come from our times and to these times is that the time for the mains is very short. ठीक, so you can't afford to be too much under, you can't afford to be too relaxed कि चलो अब हो गया अब देखेंगे. So especially once you are done with pre, now as you guys have the option that answers keys are there, so do check. Strong recommendation, kal ya aaj do check your answer keys. Okay, come to this conclusion that what is your score. But irrespective of whatever your score is, and you want to continue your UPSC preparation, anyhow you should start your mains preparation. तो ये बात बिल्कुल नहीं भूलनी है. जैसे मैंने इतनी सारी रिकमेंडेशन दी थी कि अब लास्ट 2-3 दिन पढ़ाई हेल्प नहीं करेगी, यही ऐसे ही एक्सपीरियंस से रिकमेंडेशन है कि इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द स्कोर. और इस बार तो कट ऑफ वैसे भी बहुत अनप्रिडिक्टेबल जाने वाली है, जैसे नेचर ऑफ द प्री एग्जाम आया. तो अगर एग्जाम ही इतना अनप्रिडिक्टेबल आया तो कट ऑफ कोई प्रिडिक्ट नहीं कर सकता इसकी. इट कैन बी 55, इट कैन बी 60, इट कैन बी 65, इट कैन बी 70. सो इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ योर स्कोर यू शुड स्टार्ट योर मेन्स प्रिपरेशन, एंड Anantam IS team is always there for you. You can come to the institute, discuss your strategy with us. Once you will check the answer key. So Anantam team will going to have a module specific discussion. We'll start from the economic module, and Raja sir is going to discuss the economy module with you guys. So घबराना नहीं है. We are going to give you the best of the explanation for the questions and the best of the आंसर की. रिलाई ऑन दिस आंसर की, एंड वॉट एवर द स्कोर विल बी. 60 बन रहा है तो बस मान के चलो हो रहा है. और मेंस की प्रिपरेशन आफ्टर 1 or 2 or 3 days of break you should jump into your mains preparation. Okay, so I am going to give mic to Raja sir. He will going to take the discussion on the economy module. Okay, listen to the discussion.
Thank you, Rahul sir. Good evening, guys. First and foremost, Team Anantam is going to express its moment of appreciation to all the aspirants who have appeared for prelims this year. Because irrespective of the performance and irrespective of the outcome, what important is how much of efforts have been put into this preparation in the last 4 to 5 months. I personally have witnessed how students have gone through rigorous preparation with utmost discipline, grit and determination in the last 4 to 5 months, which has come to the D-Day today. So for the efforts, for the discipline, for the grit and determination, this is our appreciation to all of you. And coming to the nature of the paper, yes, by this time the word has been spread across the market. Yes, the paper has been definitely a shocker. Okay. First and foremost, there has been perceptible changes in the prelims paper this year, unlike last year or previous 5 years or say 10 years. I can safely say that this paper is a shocker. See, the perceptible changes with this paper with respect to the composition, the weightage, and the new nature of the questions. First and foremost, in the last 5 years or in the last 10 years, if you look at the trend, there are certain subjects like Indian economy, polity, or physical geography. These are the kind of subjects where a minimum amount of weightage is ensured. Around 45 to 50 questions used to come from these three sections. Okay, but unfortunately, this year you hardly find around 5 to 6, not more than 5 to 6 questions from polity section to this year. Even one of the polity question was given in a case study model. Okay, the same thing goes with physical geography. You hardly find any geography questions. Most of them are environmental questions. Whatever the geography questions that were asked, they were random, world geography questions. Okay, pure factual based questions. And even when it comes to the economy, what I believe is that most of the questions are more in terms of factual in nature rather than conceptual. There was a time last year and before last year, basic concepts about monetary policy, fiscal policy, and other concepts used to be asked. But this year, I don't see any such conceptual or analytical questions. Either the application of technology in the financial services or crude random facts. Okay, as the the most important distinction this year is the introduction of case studies, ethical case studies in GS objective paper prelims. This is a shocker definitely, because nobody would have definitely predicted this change. See, this was a surprise. For some people it was a pleasant surprise. For some people it was an unpleasant surprise, depending upon how well they gathered themselves looking at these kind of questions and how well they managed these questions in the exam hall. All that depends upon your presence of mind in that particular 2 hours. However, there are conflicting opinions with respect to this ethics case study in an objective paper like prelims, GS prelims. Some people say that this is not the place where the case studies are supposed to be asked. And some people also say that it was not explicitly mentioned in the syllabus as it was mentioned in the notification. However, some people say that there is nothing wrong. We are getting 6 marks for free. So it depends. The opinions are going to be evolved. We'll wait and see. Okay. As a whole, even the nature of the questions and nature of the statements have also been changed. New kinds of statements have been asked. Right. 2 of the statements are correct and one among them is the second statement. These kind of statements were asked, which made the question a bit more difficult. Okay. So overall, the paper is definitely fairly on the tougher side, and we are of the opinion that the cutoff is definitely going to come down significantly. However, to what extent it is going to come down is something that is going to be revealed with better interaction with the students down the line. So let us not get into the cutoff discussion right away. First of all, let's start with the key and answer explanation for all the 100 questions subject wise. So I'm starting with economy subject and followed by rest of the subjects with respect to faculties. Okay, so we are picking up the set D question paper and we are starting with economy questions. The question number 52. Question number 52. See, this question is with respect to e-commerce model. In the last 2 decades, there has been increasing presence of tech giants in the retail sector, and as a result, the e-commerce role has been increased significantly in the economy. However, the traditional e-commerce model has been subjected to multiple kinds of evolutions, and new forms of e-commerce models existed or emerged in India. And this question is with respect to one such new emerging e-commerce model, that is drop shipping model. What is this drop shipping model? See, in the traditional e-commerce model where you want to purchase a product, in the traditional marketplace e-commerce model, you go to an e-commerce platform like Flipkart or Amazon, where you purchase the good from a particular supplier. It is a transaction between a consumer and a supplier, and the e-commerce platform is only going to provide a marketplace where it is going to aggregate all the consumers and all the suppliers on the same platform. And the product is directly supplied by the supplier to the consumer. There is no intermediary between these two. However, in this drop shipping model, there is an intermediary between the consumer and the supplier. Let's say if I'm a seller, I'm going to sell a product to the consumer and I'm going to determine the price of that particular product. However, I don't own the product. Whenever the consumer places an order with me, I'm going to place the order to a particular third party supplier, and the third party supplier is going to provide the goods to the consumer. Thereby, me as a store or website only going to acquire the customer but do not maintain the inventory or stock. The goods are actually supplied by the third party supplier to the consumer, thereby avoiding the logistic cost for the particular company. So this is a new emerging e-commerce model. Here the payment is made by the consumer to this particular e-commerce platform, and this e-commerce is going to pay for the particular supplier for providing the good and delivering the good to the consumer. So this is a win-win situation both for the supplier and also the e-commerce platform. So this is drop shipping model, and that is exactly what was explained in the question. An e-commerce revenue model where the seller has control over the pricing but doesn't take the product in stock, but doesn't keep the products in stock, and instead transfer the customer's orders and shipment details to the third party suppliers, who then ships the good directly to the customers. This is exactly the model we are talking about. So the answer is A. Coming to the next question. With respect to which one of the following correctly represents the three key sub-indices of Financial Inclusion Index of Reserve Bank of India? It is a pretty simple factual question. If you are aware of the three parameters of RBI Financial Inclusion Index survey, you can arrive at the answer. See, financial inclusion performance of India is measured through this Financial Inclusion Index prepared by the Reserve Bank of India, and it measures the performance through three parameters: access, usage and quality. Access was given 35% of weightage. Access represents the supply side aspects of the financial inclusion. That means how many bank branches are there in the rural areas, what is the ATM density, how many banking correspondents were deployed by the banks to provide subsidies and other kind of payment remittances services to the population in the rural areas. Whereas the second aspect, which is usage, which talks about the demand side of the financial inclusion, and it was given 45% of weightage. That means whether the financial inclusion services or the financial services provided by the financial institutions are being utilized by the consumers or not. So this is measured by measurements like whether what is the amount of savings that are being mobilized by the banks, and what is the credit penetration, all these things. Okay, and the third is quality, which is given 20% of weightage in the survey, which talks about the quality of the financial services, financial literacy, and customer satisfaction and customer protection. So as a whole, the answer is C. Access, usage and quality are the parameters using which Financial Inclusion Index is being prepared by the Reserve Bank of India. So the option answer is C. The next question, 54, ONDC, Open Network for Digital Commerce. It has been pretty important topic because it has been in use since the last 3-4 years. Okay, what is this ONDC? ONDC is an open platform which integrates the digital platforms of tech giants or digital commerce platforms under one roof, which enables interoperability across them. What exactly is this? In a nutshell, let's say, if you want to purchase a good over e-commerce platform, you subscribe to a particular e-commerce platform and then you purchase the good from all the suppliers who have been registered on that particular e-commerce platform like Amazon or Flipkart. So this entire transaction works in a closed network. That means if I'm a user of Amazon, I can only purchase the goods that are being supplied by the suppliers who have been registered on Amazon. But I cannot do that with respect to any other supplier who is not registered with this particular platform. So right now, all the tech giants and all the digital platforms like digital commerce platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, Uber, Ola, Swiggy, Zomato, these kind of digital commerce platforms are working in this closed networks in silos. ONDC is going to open the borders or remove the borders of all these digital platforms and bring them under one platform, one umbrella, thereby creating wider choice to the consumer and also the suppliers. Why do we have to do this? Why RBI is trying to do this? Why the government is trying to do this? This is to provide not only wider choice to the consumer, but also to prevent exploitation by these big tech giants. For example, if I'm a supplier and I'm ready to provide any good to the consumer through any e-commerce platform, then I have to register myself in that platform, and also I have to pay a certain amount of commission to it. If I have to cater to the wide range of customers, then I have to get myself registered across all the platforms, and I have to share my commission with all the platforms, which is detrimental to my profitability. So it is difficult for the small business players. So if you remove these borders, irrespective of which platform I am registered with, I can provide services to anybody. Which means if I'm a consumer or if I'm a user of Swiggy, I can order from any restaurant which is registered with either Swiggy or Zomato, provided both Swiggy and Zomato are registered with this or subscribed to this ONDC model. Okay, so the whole idea is to provide better services, competition, and avoid bad pricing strategy adopted by these tech giants and prevent exploitation of these small business players. This is a major objective of ONDC. So this objective was clearly mentioned in option C, to break the dominance of large e-commerce platforms by enabling interoperability across the networks. So the answer is C. Coming to the next question, 55. Again, CBDC. A question on CBDC has been continuously asking from the last 3 years. Continuously asking. Since the time RBI has released its digital rupee, it has become a favorite topic for UPSC. Okay, in this question, it is asking the difference between UPI payments and digital rupee payments. First and foremost, let me briefly explain what is digital rupee, and then we'll find out how it can be distinguished from the normal electronic payments on UPI. See, digital rupee refers to a central bank digital currency which was issued by the Reserve Bank of India. It is synonymous to normal currency that exists in the market, but the only difference is it's in its format. Otherwise, all the features are similar to the physical currency. That means even the digital currency or the digital rupee is a liability of the Reserve Bank of India, just like any other physical currency note. And the denominations are also similar to the physical currency. And this physical rupee and digital rupee are exchangeable at 1:1 value. That means the value of the denomination is also same. Value of the currency is also same. Okay. So now, how are they different from, how this money is transferred from one person to other person? It is just like transferring money from my physical wallet to your physical wallet. In the same way, money can be transferred from my digital wallet to your digital wallet. That means if I go to any shop and I purchase a product, I transfer the money from my digital wallet to his digital wallet through a UPI, through an ID or any QR code. Unlike a UPI transaction, I know you must be wondering that even UPI transaction does the same thing. But the difference is that in UPI transaction, when I make the payment from my account to your account, the money is being transferred from my bank to your bank. That means the UPI transaction is backed by interbank transfer, which is not the case with digital currency transfers. That means digital rupee transfers. For a digital rupee transaction, you don't need a bank account. For digital rupee transaction, there is no concept of interbank settlement. These are the two important distinctions between UPI transaction and digital rupee transaction. Okay, let's look at the first statement. UPI is the real-time payment system, but digital rupee is akin to sovereign paper currency. Right? It just explained what is UPI and what is UPI and what is digital currency. Okay, the first statement is right. Second statement. In case of UPI, settlement for end users happen instantly as the money gets immediately debited or credited. But in case of digital rupee, there is no settlement as the wallet balance gets transferred to another wallet. As I said, there is no interbank settlement involved in digital rupee transactions. It is exactly like physical rupee transactions. Okay, second statement is also right. UPI transactions are recorded by banks and reflected in bank statements, but in case of digital rupee, no data is captured in the bank statements as transactions are from one wallet to the another. Exactly. Since it doesn't involve any interbank transactions, any transaction between one digital wallet to the other digital wallet is not at all recorded in any other bank statements. So this is also correct. All these statements are correct, and only incorrect statement is D. In both the cases, UPI and digital rupee, the liability lies with the users and their respective banks, which is wrong. See, as I said, each and every digital rupee that is issued by the Reserve Bank of India is a liability of the central bank, just like the physical currency. And each and every every electronic rupee that you are transferring from one account to the other account within the bank, interbank transfer, that is a liability of the commercial banks. So this statement is wrong. So answer is D. Next, 56. Again, a question on application of technology in the financial sector. Very, very interesting and very, very important topic. Which of the following statements about real world asset tokenization are correct? See, if you're aware of the concept of tokenization, you can easily arrive at this answer, even if you're not aware of this exact real world asset transaction or asset tokenization. What is this asset tokenization? Asset tokenization involves converting any real world physical or financial asset into a digital token. That means if I own a particular asset, that asset can be either physical asset or financial asset, like a real estate property, a gold, or a share, a bond. My ownership of this property or this asset can be converted into digital tokens, which can be traded in the financial market just like any other financial instrument. So now the question is, why do you have to convert them into digital tokens? Why the ownership rights should be converted into digital tokens? First and foremost, this is going to enable fractional ownership. For example, let's say I'm a retail investor and I'm interested in investing in any real estate sector, but the real estate sector requires lot of investments. Let's say I want to invest in a commercial building, but the cost of the commercial building is 10 crores. But I'm a retail investor who cannot invest for more than 1 lakh or 2 lakhs. In that case, if the ownership of this real estate property, 10 crore worth of commercial building, is converted into digital tokens, let's say 1 lakh digital tokens, each worth of 10,000 rupees, then I can purchase 10 such tokens and get a particular fractional ownership in the property. Isn't it? So this digital tokenization is going to enable the retail investors like you and me, small ticket investors, are going to be provided with an opportunity to invest in investable or high growth investment opportunities. Okay. And one more aspect, okay, that is clearly mentioned in this third option. Tokenization of the real world assets will allow the access to high growth investment opportunities for individuals in India. Earlier, these high investment opportunities or high growth investment opportunities were not allowed to the individuals or retail investors because it is much above their investment capacity. Now that it is fractional ownership is possible through the tokenization, digital tokenization, anybody can participate in any project. Okay, number one thing. And second advantage is it's with respect to liquidity. That means, let's say if I want to trade any financial asset like share or bond, I can do it only during the market hours. The stock market opens at 9 o'clock in the morning and it closes at 3:30. If I have to trade any share or bond, I can do it only in this period, during this period. Unlike this, these digital tokens can be traded throughout 24/7 in a blockchain technology based platform. So it is going to give me better liquidity and better financial inclusion. So the second statement is also right because tokenization of the real world assets offer 24/7 access promoting financial inclusion. And the first statement is also right. It explained what is tokenization. Tokenization is the process of turning real world physical or financial assets into digital tokens using blockchain technology. So the answer is 1, 2 and 3A. Right? Next question, 57. A bond whose proceeds are used only to finance or refinance a combination of both environmental and social projects is called. It is sustainable bond. See, as per the ESG debt securities framework of the Reserve Bank of India, the impact bonds are broadly categorized into 3 categories. One, green bond. That means the bond is a debt instrument, and green bond is a debt instrument which is issued by an entity to mobilize the capital to invest in any green or clean energy green based in business opportunities. For example, renewable energy industry or drinking water conservation or solar energy project, anything like that. Okay, so that is green bond. Social bond is similar to the green bond, but the only difference is that the mobilized capital is going to be utilized for any social impact entrepreneurship. For example, rural development activities, rural infrastructure, rural healthcare, women empowerment, education, all these things. Okay, so these are green and social bonds respectively. A sustainable bond would have the combination of both green and social aspects to it. For example, let's say government is coming up with electricity bus transport system in rural areas. So there are two aspects to it. One is green aspect, which means it is issuing the bonds for this electricity bus transport system, electric bus transport system, which is going to overcome the problem of problem of greenhouse gas emissions, number one thing, and also it is going to provide connectivity to the rural areas. So it has got both green impact and social impact. So these bonds are known as sustainable bonds. So the answer is C. Okay. Next, 58. Which one of the following statements about M1 exchange's role in MSME financing is correct? See, all those people who have gone through the TREDS platform can easily answer this question. Okay, M1 exchange is simply a TREDS platform. That means TREDS platform is a digital platform recognized by the Reserve Bank of India, which enables discounting of discounting of invoices or discounting of trade receivables by the MSMEs. What exactly does it do? Let me explain you. For example, let's take an MSME. An MSME, when it provides any kind of goods to a big big company or big industry, the industry would not make the payment immediately. Generally in the market, the payment is received for the input supply only with a delay of 30 or 40 or 45 days. But for a micro enterprise, they cannot wait till the time because they have certain liquidity requirements to meet. They have to pay the salaries to the employees. They have to purchase the inputs and raw material for the manufacturing of the goods for the next cycle, next season. So they cannot wait. So to meet this liquidity requirements, they can sell this invoice that is given by the company to which they supplied the products. Now, who is going to purchase this at the face value? Nobody is going to purchase the bill at the face value or the invoice at the face value. It is definitely going to be sold at a discounted value. So this is known as discounting of trade receivables or discounting of invoices. MSMEs generally do that to meet their urgent liquidity requirements. Now the question is, what the TREDS is doing is, TREDS platform is going to provide a platform where there are multiple financiers who are ready to purchase these discounted invoices or discounted receivables. So M1 exchange is one such TREDS platform. Now look at the statements. The first statement says that M1 exchange provides collateral based loans to the MSME, which is wrong. It is a TREDS platform. It doesn't provide any loans. It only provides a platform for the discounting of trade receivables or invoices. Second statement, M1 exchange facilitates discounting of the invoices and bills of exchange for MSME, right? And third statement, M1 exchange functions as credit rating agency for MSME, which is wrong. See, credit rating agencies are separately licensed by the SEBI. TREDS platform cannot provide any credit rating agencies service to the consumers or to the customers. Okay, this TREDS platform is controlled or regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. M1 exchange is regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. So it cannot provide license to any agency to provide credit rating services. So the third statement is wrong. The answer is 2 only, B. Okay. Next, 59. Which of the following best describes the crowd out effect in the context of fiscal policy? Simple, basic conceptual question. See, as a part of the fiscal policy, each and every government would make certain amount of expenditure in the market. Okay, the expenditure which is required to meet its budgetary requirements. However, this money is raised through taxes and non-tax resources. So any shortfall in the revenue and expenditure is going to be borrowed from the market by issuing treasury bills and dated government securities. Who is going to purchase these treasury bills and dated government securities? Retail investors like you and me, financial investors, foreign portfolio investors, mutual funds, banks, everybody purchase these government securities. However, whenever the spending is beyond a limit, whenever there is excessive borrowing by the government in the economy, this is going to leave no space for the credit creation in the private sector. That means all the banks, financial institutions and retail investors will not be left with any money to provide loans and invest in the other private sector and private investment. This is known as crowding out effect. That means a situation where government borrowing leads to higher interest rates, which reduces the private investment. That means there is a limited amount of capital that can be invested in the market, and a significant portion of this capital is being mobilized by the government itself through its borrowings, and this is going to leave less space for the private investment because the limited amount that is left is not sufficient for the private investments, and it is obviously going to increase the interest rates in the economy. So this is known as crowding out effect, and recently in the last 5 years, Union government is trying to diversify its borrowing resources away from the domestic sources to avoid this crowding out effect. If you are aware of this, you might have heard about JP Morgan bond index, in which Indian government securities found a place. This is one way in which Union government is trying to diversify its sources to the global market, thereby avoiding this crowding out effect. So the answer is B, basic conceptual question. Okay. Next, 62. Which of the following statements are correct about crowdfunding? Again, crowdfunding, if you have basic understanding how these financial markets work, this is not such a difficult question. Okay. Crowdfunding platforms are those platforms which pool investors, small amount of investments from large pool of investors. See, why do they exist? For example, if you want to start a startup or a small business and you're not getting loan from the traditional banks, then you can register yourself on any other crowdfunding platform, and you can pitch your idea to the prospective investors. So the investors are like you and me, retail investors who are ready to invest in small ticket loans, and they can mobilize such investments from large pool of investors, and they can mobilize the capital for their business, right? The difference between the traditional investment and this investment is that here you can offer equity or debt instruments. You can raise the capital either through equity instruments or debt instruments. So the crowdfunding based modeled on either equity model or debt model. Okay. So if, unlike the traditional banking sector where they asked for collateral, where they asked for lengthy approvals, documentation, and they also ask for credit score, here there is nothing like it. There is no collateral, no documentation, no credit score. So that is the beauty of this crowdsourcing. Okay. So look at the first statement. Crowdfunding is solicitation of funds in the small amount from multiple investors through a web-based platform or social networking sites for a specific project, right? It exactly explained what is crowdfunding. And second thing, small and medium enterprises are able to raise funds at the lower cost of the capital without undergoing rigorous procedures, right? SMEs can raise their loans from the particular project without having to go through the lengthy procedures that is generally witnessed in the traditional banking based lending process. So the answer is both 1 and 2, C. Coming to the 63 question, 63. It is a very factual question. I know it's slightly tough question, but if you are aware of this Urjit Patel committee, which is pretty famous out of all these committees, you can still eliminate two options. First and foremost, let's look at the original Urjit Patel committee recommendations. What is the objective of this Urjit Patel committee recommendation? Urjit Patel committee, the objective is to provide a monetary policy framework to the Reserve Bank of India. So that is a basic objective. But here it was written something else. It said that it is preparing a roadmap for performing bank lending to the housing sector, which is wrong. So this is wrong. Now if you can remove this, you can arrive at the two options, either A or D. Now look at the fourth option, YH Malagam committee. YH Malagam committee was introduced by the government, by the Reserve Bank of India. It was constituted by the Reserve Bank of India for providing recommendations, sweeping reforms in the microfinance sector. Okay, and Malagam committee recommended that the microfinance institutions are supposed to be regulated by the Reserve Bank of India just like any other NBFC. And based on this committee recommendations, RBI opened a new category known as NBFC microfinance institutions. Okay, so this is right. So answer is obviously 2 and 4, D. So let's look at the second statement. LC Gupta committee. LC Gupta committee was constituted by the SEBI, right, for providing a roadmap for the introduction of derivative instruments in the market. What are derivative instruments? Futures, options, forward trading, all these are derivative instruments. And LC Gupta committee suggested that phased introduction of these derivatives in the financial market. So second statement is right, 2 and 4 answer. Let's look at the first statement anyways. RN Malhotra committee was introduced by the government. It is constituted by the government to provide reforms with respect to the insurance sector. See, the objective was right with respect to the committee, but the problem is with respect to this, the organization. See, it was constituted by the government, not IRDAI, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. It was not constituted by this organization, because in fact IRDAI was actually constituted based on the recommendation of R.N. Malhotra committee. So the first statement was wrong. So the answer is D, 2 and 4. Next, 64. Consider the following statements about the non-banking financial companies, NBFCs in India. A static question, and I rate it as the easiest question or one of the easiest question in the economy section. Okay. What are NBFCs? NBFCs are those financial institutions which provide wide range of financial services, like mobilizing the savings, mobilizing the deposits, and also providing wide range of credit operations. Okay. However, they don't have banking license. That means they are distinguishable from banks in 3 important criteria. First criteria is that they cannot accept demand deposits. See, there are 2 kinds of NBFCs. Some of them are deposit taking NBFCs, some of them are non-deposit taking NBFCs. That means deposit taking NBFCs, though they are authorized to accept the deposits, but they are not authorized to accept demand deposits. They can accept only fixed deposits. So that is first and foremost distinction. So the first statement is right. NBFCs cannot accept demand deposits. And the second distinction is with respect to the payment and settlement system. NBFCs do not form a part of the payment and settlement system, and hence they cannot issue checks. See, in order to issue checks, it needs to be cleared by a central counterparty. So it cannot be happen until and unless that particular financial institution becomes a part of the payment and settlement system. So second statement is also right. So third statement is also right. NBFCs do not form part of the, this is wrong, sorry, this is wrong, third statement is wrong. NBFCs do not form part of the payment and settlement system. Okay. Now the other distinction is with respect to deposit insurance. Unlike in the case of banking deposits, which can take advantage of the insurance services provided by the DICGC, Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation, this facility is not available for NBFC deposits. That means if you deposit in a particular NBFC, there is no such insurance coverage that can be available, just like the way it is available for bank deposits, traditional bank deposits. So look at the fourth statement. Deposit insurance facility of DICGC is not available for the deposits of NBFCs, right? Fourth statement is right. Okay. Now look at the second statement. All NBFCs are operating in India have to be registered with RBI. Let me tell you one thing. There are multiple types of NBFCs. NBFC credit and investment companies, NBFC peer-to-peer lending, NBFC microfinance institutions, NBFC infrastructure financing companies. All these are typically regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. However, there are certain NBFCs which are outside the purview of the regulation of RBI. For example, NBFC housing finance companies, they are regulated by the National Housing Bank. For example, Nidhi companies are regulated by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So not all NBFCs are regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. So the second statement is wrong. So the answer is 1 and 4A. The last question from the economy section, which is 65th question on multidimensional poverty index, MPI. See, traditionally for a long time, India has followed this consumption-based income poverty line to assess the poverty. For example, the traditional poverty line based poverty estimations can only give you the headcount ratio. That means how much of the population is below the poverty line. It doesn't give you the comprehensiveness or degree or intensity of the poverty. So for that reason, Niti Aayog in collaboration with the UNDP has come up with a new comprehensive measure for the poverty assessment, that is multidimensional poverty index. It was actually inspired from the UNDP's multidimensional poverty index. However, there are certain changes to it. The Niti Aayog multidimensional poverty index is based on 3 parameters, that is health, education and standard of living. All these 3 parameters were also there in the UNDP multidimensional poverty index, but the only difference is with respect to these 2 sub-indexes or the sub-parameters, that is maternal health and bank account in the respective parameters of health and standard of living. So look at the statement. MPI is calculated using Alker-Foster methodology, the same methodology which was adopted by the UNDP. First statement is right. Second statement, MPI is calculated by the Niti Aayog, has a total of 12 indicators. See, there are 7 and 5 indicators, 12 indicators, which is right. And maternal health and bank account are common indicators in the MPI of Niti Aayog and MPI of UNDP, which is wrong because these 2 indicators were Indian inventions or Indian innovations in their multidimensional poverty index, which were not present in the UNDP multidimensional poverty index. So the answer is 1 and 2, which is A. So that's it with the economy section. So the next section is going to be taken by the history faculty. Thank you guys. Hello. 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 Check, check, check. Yes. Great. Great. Hello, students. In this particular segment, we are going to discuss the questions with regard to history and art and culture. However, before we proceed any further, it is very, very important to make a very, very important underlining statement, or for that matter, reflection about the nature of the exam. That yes, it was certainly a very, very overwhelmingly difficult section of history and art and culture, which not only required deeper analytical skills from the end of the students, but also, if you look at it, there was a lot of interlinkage that was also needed in terms of archaeology, in terms of cultural history, in terms of political history, or for that matter, the current affair related questions, the current affair related aspects. Moving ahead with regard to the very division of the paper with respect to history and art and culture, let me just tell you that yes, so if you look at it, so clearly ancient Indian history, it was ancient Indian history, 8 questions. Then you had art and culture, 8 questions again. And then you had, finally you had modern Indian history. Modern Indian history. Again, modern may you had 5 questions. In total, if you look at it, so these were 21 questions. These were 21 questions. And clearly, 21 questions, a major benchmark that UPSC has again set for this particular year in terms of the number of questions that were asked in history and art and culture. Clearly, if you look at the past trend, so clearly last year, if you look at it, so ancient Indian history, medieval Indian history, or for that matter, art and culture questions, they were relatively very, very easy. But this time, it has rather been difficult. But remember, if you found history and art and culture related questions difficult, then it was not just you. If you have been able to prepare in a very, very diligent manner, everybody else, thousands of other aspirants would have also found those sections very, very difficult. So the only thing that is in your hands is to keep up with your preparation, to keep up with the strategy that you have with regard to mains and other aspects of the preparation, and you will see that eventually you will have a better perspective on how to go about it, the entire stage of the examination, right? Before we without any further ado, let us just see the kind of questions that were there. So clearly, in the Pleistocene period, either the Yamuna once flowed into the Indus or Satluj flowed into the Yamuna. One major tributary either had shifted from Ganga to
Indus or vice versa? Which of the following is or are the basis of the above assertion? The Nadi Sukt of Rig Ved, explorations of Satluj and the Yamuna by Robert Bruce Foote, the presence of same species of dolphins in the Indus and Ganga river systems. So clearly, if you look at it, it is very, very important for us to understand here when we speak of Nadi Sukt. When we speak of Nadi Sukt, so it is very, very important for us to understand here that yes, as far as Nadi Sukt is concerned, so it is very important for us to understand here that Nadi Sukt is in just give me half a minute, because I really need to kind of rearrange this. Just give me half a minute. We need to rearrange this with the help of a technician. Okay, all right, great. So clearly, yes, thanks for waiting for this. So clearly, if you look at it, so Nadi Sukt, yes, it is very, very important for us to understand here that Nadi Sukt is in 10th Mandal of Rig Ved. It is in 10th Mandal of Rig Ved. 10th Mandal of Rig Ved, 10th Mandal, yes, but it is the 75th hymn. It is the 75th hymn, but it does not really tell us anything about the Pleistocene period. Rather, it talks about the ways in which the Indus river system, it branches out, but certainly nothing which is concurrent to this particular statement. However, if you look at it, explorations of Satluj and the Yamuna by Robert Bruce Foote. So Robert Bruce Foote, again, you know, if you look at it, so clearly it is 1863. It is 1863, and Robert Bruce Foote is associated with the Paleolithic findings. And especially he is credited with Pallavaram axe. X, right? Pallavaram X. So clearly, again, he is associated with the Paleolithic findings. So again, this is not the correct option here, but it is only the third option here. The presence of same species of dolphins in both the Indus and Ganga river systems. So clearly, Nadi Sukt, if you look at it, it is in the 10th Mandal of Rig Ved, and it is the very 75th hymn. It is the 75th hymn that the question really talks about. Also, if you look at it, so clearly Nadi Sukt, it talks about Indus river system, but it does not really give us any of these hints which are concurrent with the statement here. And clearly Robert Bruce Foote is again associated with the Paleolithic findings, so it is only the third one which is the correct option here. Okay, so clearly, next one. What does an empty seat represent in Buddhist iconography? The meditation of Buddha, the Buddha's first sermon, the Buddha's Mahaparinirvan, or Buddha's Mahabhinishkramana of Buddha. So clearly, if you look at it, it is very, very important for us to understand here that with regard to Buddhist art, there have been different kind of symbols which have rather been very, very popular in which sect of Buddhism, Hinayan or Mahayan? Hinayan Buddhism, because Buddha was not represented in a very direct manner. So clearly, these symbols, they were largely revered by the population, by the followers of Buddha, and they were represented in different places. So clearly, meditation of Buddha, yes, meditation of Buddha, if you look at it, so clearly Bodhi tree. Also, if you look at it, Bodhi tree plus what? An empty throne. An empty throne, it has rather been a very, very important part of Buddhist iconography. So clearly, it is an empty throne. Okay, it is an empty throne that is there. How do we know it? Because clearly, if you look at it, so Anantam's answer key, which has been very, very meticulously prepared. So clearly they have also marked it as a star, because in different sources it speaks differently about this particular aspect of the question. However, having said that, it is in Bharut Stoop. It is actually in Bharut Stoop that one sees okay. So clearly what does Bharut Stoop it talks about? It does represent an empty throne, but it also says what? It also talk about, you know, Shak Muni Buddha in a, you know, so clearly it talks about his enlightenment, or for that matter the meditative aspect of Buddha. So clearly, considering the inscription that is there in Bharut Stoop, we would rather want to believe that it is the first option that is correct. However, we are yet to wait for the official answer key to be released, right? So clearly Buddha's first sermon. So Buddha's first sermon, yes, Dharma Chakra. So it is Dharma Chakra which is there, right? Also, if you look at it, Buddha's Mahaparinirvan. Buddha's Mahaparinirvan, it has been represented with the help of a stoop. It has been represented with the help of a stoop, yes, mostly, right? Mostly. And then if you look at it, so Buddha's Mahabhinishkramana. Buddha's Mahabhinishkramana is what? The renunciation, the path of renunciation that Buddha chose. So clearly it is represented with a certain riderless horse. It is represented with a certain riderless horse. Right? So clearly this is precisely how one sees. However, the kind of reference that I have given you is a certain inscription right at Bharut Stoop, but we are all waiting for UPSC's official answer key to have a very concrete answer with regard to this question, which is rather ambiguous, right? So clearly next one, yes. So it is what? It is, I would have marked it as A, but let's see. Next one, yes. Which of the following pairs of ancient and modern names of rivers are correctly matched with Asta? Certainly not. Certainly not. It is Jhelum. It is Jhelum. Right? Asikni is certainly Chenab. Chenab. And then if you look at it, Purushni, Ravi, yes. Parushni is Ravi, yes. Yavyavati. Yavyavati is certainly not Vyas. It is not Vyas. So clearly, if you look at it, so clearly it is Vipasha. It is Vipasha which is Vyas, right? So Vipasha, but Yavyavati is river. Right. Zob. It is river Zob. So clearly this is again, you know, it is just the C. It is just C, which is the correct option here. It is just C, which is the correct option here. Parushni is Ravi, but the rest of them, they have rather either been swapped or for that matter, been given a very wrong option altogether. So it is just C, which is there. Next one. Which of the following statements on Amravati Stoop and its relief sculpture are correct? It was located in the lower Krishna Valley. It was located in the lower Krishna Valley. Yes, of course, Amravati Stoop, very, very important. Yes, Amravati, if you look at it, Amravati Stoop. So clearly, Amravati is associated with another very, very important place. It is rather the older name also of Amravati. So clearly, it is Dhanya Kataka. Dhanya Kataka. Or for that matter, Dharani Kota. Dharani Kota. It has again been a PYQ. Again, look at it. They asked a question from Dhanya Katakam, and again they are asking the similar question about a similar site from Amravati, right? So clearly you should have studied it. So yes, in India it was next to only Sanchi Stoop in this, you know. So clearly, not really, because clearly if you look at it, so Sanchi, it was next to Sanchi Stoop. So clearly Amravati was bigger. Amravati, if you look at it, so it was certainly bigger than Sanchi. I think, you know, to the best of my memory, I think the the size of Amravati Stoop is roughly around 50. Size of Sanchi is roughly around 36. So clearly, you know, it is not the correct statement here. And if you would have practiced the very PYQs as well, so you would have realized that yes, it is not the correct. The very language itself, it tells you that it is not the correct option here. Amravati school of sculpture made a lasting impact on the later southern sculpture. Its products were carried to Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia. Yes, of course. Amravati Stoop, if you look at it, Amravati art along with Mathura and Gandhar art, they were very, very popular. Especially they also traveled to Sri Lanka. They also traveled to Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia. Sri Lanka में अगर हम बात करें, so clearly Sri Lanka में they traveled to Anuradhapuram, right? So clearly a very, very important Buddhist site, right? A very important Buddhist site in Sri Lanka. So clearly this is precisely how one kind of goes about it. So the right option here is 1 and 3. Okay, so as far as the sizes are concerned, so they have clearly, given a wrong statement here. Next one. Yes, which of the following pairs of king and his dynasty in early historical Tamilakam are not correctly matched? Senguttuvan, very, very important ruler. Very, very important ruler, right? So clearly Senguttuvan, yes, he was a Chera ruler, yes. Udayanjeral, certainly not a Chola ruler. He was rather a Chera ruler, right? Also, if you look at it, Udayanjeral, so clearly it is Perum Chottu. Okay, so it was also a name of Udayanjeral, a Chera ruler, who was also called as Perum Chottu. Also, he is one of the earliest rulers of Cheras. He is also one of the earliest rulers of Cheras. So clearly that is also very important to understand here. Nedunjalian, yes, Pandyas, yes. So clearly first and 3, they are correct here, but it is the second one which is not correct, and clearly they have asked for a non-correct option here. So clearly this is the correct option. So clearly answer is B. Okay, so yes. Honestly, if I can tell you very honestly, it's totally fine if you don't really attempt the questions about, Mansoor Sahab, or for that matter, if you really do not really attempt the questions like, let's say, the very first question for that matter about Nadi Sukt. But these questions are basics, these questions are basics. If you have not been able to do these questions as well, that means, there could have been a much better scope, for the preparation. But having said that, yes, I can understand exam pressure, it is not very easy to recall, certain nuances like these. Yes. Next one. Which of the following factors contributed to the formation of forward bloc by Subhash Chandra Bose in 1939? Yes, it was, certainly very, very important episode, with regard to Tripuri session. A very important episode with regard to Tripuri session. Also, if you look at it, Congress left was disunited and failed to support Bose. Congress left was disunited and failed to support Bose. The communists did not really support Bose in his endeavors, not necessarily, because if you look at it, so clearly they did support him initially in the very initial stage at Tripuri session, right? The supporters of M.N. Roy and socialist leaders like Jayaprakash Narayan preferred Congress unity to support Bose. Yes, that is, certainly true. They kind of aligned themselves with the Congress, but at the same time, if you look at it, so clearly it is yes, second and third, again very, very dicey answers across different sources. It has been given in a very, very different manner, so we would rather want to kind of wait for the official answer key here. It is very surprising that a question from modern Indian history also becomes a little dicey, but yes, can't really help it. So yes, so we'll have to wait for the official answer key. Yes. Consider the following statements regarding the British policy in Awadh immediately after its annexation in 1856. The talukdars were dispossessed of their estates but allowed to retain their arms and forts. The summary revenue settlement was made in 1856, assuming that the talukdars were outsiders, and British believed in taking revenue directly from peasants by removing the talukdars. So clearly this was a major bone of contention between the talukdars and the British. Yes, of course, because clearly the British felt that, maybe these were the outsiders, they did not really have those strong roots. So clearly, that was a major, so clearly a summary revenue settlement was also made, right? So clearly, but yahan pe if you look at it, so it is very important to understand here, they were also dispossessed of the arms and forts as well, of these kind of properties as well. So clearly the first statement, it is certainly wrong here. Certainly a very basic question from modern Indian history, but again, you should have, one needs to have that comprehensive understanding of the subject. A summary revenue was made in 1857, assuming that talukdars were outsiders. Yes, the British believed in taking revenue directly from peasants by removing the talukdars. Yes, that is also true. So clearly, yahan pe if you look at it, so it is very, very important for us to understand that, certainly a major role to play in 1857 revolt as well. Certainly, this particular episode had a very, very strong bearing on 1857's revolt as well. So clearly, this is precisely how one kind of, goes about it. Next is, consider the following assertion: the genesis of political alliances based on community lay in the very nature of Montagu-Chelmsford reforms in 1919. Which of the following statements support the above assertion? Reforms retained and extended the principle of separate electorates. Yes. 2. Yes. To 6. Anglo-Indians, Europeans, and Indian Christians, So clearly this is precisely how one sees it. So clearly it is very important for us to understand here. Yes, Morley and Minto reform, what was laid as the foundation as communal politics in India, communal, electorates. So clearly that was further amplified. It was further amplified by this particular reform. Why? Because separate electorates were supposed to counter Indian nationalism, which was growing stronger. Certainly, yes, of course. Yes, deprived classes rallied around the favors inherent in separate electorates. Yes, that is, so clearly that is also true. Yes. So clearly this is very important. So a very basic question here again. Modern Indian history has rather been certainly, a major respite, but certainly these kind of questions, they did need a certain understanding of the subject. Yes. So clearly all three of these statements are correct here. Next one, Pandit Mallikarjun Mansur. Yes. The famous classical singer from Karnataka represented the Agra Gharana, Gwalior Gharana, Patiala Gharana or Jaipur Atroli Gharana. Yes, Jaipur Atroli Gharana. So clearly Jaipur Atroli Gharane se hame aur kaun milti hain? Shobha Gurtu, very, very important, singer. Again, Shobha Gurtu. But having said that, coming back to Pandit Mallikarjun Mansur, very, very eclectic kind of an artistry that he exhibited, right? Very, very, a very versatile singer. But most important thing that one should have remembered about Pandit Mallikarjun Mansur is the very fact that he specialized in khayal singing. So clearly it is very, very important for us to understand here that khayal, certainly to talk about khayal, it is, any discussion is incomplete without Pandit Mallikarjun Mansur. In 2014, the government of India also issued postal stamps, right? The government of India also issued postal stamps, yes. But why is the question here in 2026? If it was issued in 2014, then why do we really have the question in 2026? Why? For a very simple reason that yes, the cultural center that was actually opened, that was actually proposed to be opened after Pandit Mallikarjun Mansur in Dharwad, Karnataka, required additional grants. Required additional grants. How do we know about it? Because clearly this was a current affair question. Because clearly it was asked in the Hindu and it was asked on it was mentioned in Hindu, and you can always consult it. So yes, clearly January 1 2026 इसी साल के हिंदू में ये आया था. So clearly Pandit Mallikarjun Mansoor, a major cultural center has also been named after him. So an additional grant beyond 10 crores, was also required to be able to kind of build it even further. But certainly it was kind of, it had some bureaucratic issues. So clearly, if you look at it, so it is Jaipur Atroli Gharana Khayal. Through 2014 में postal stamps were issued, and Shobha Gurtu is also from Jaipur Atroli Gharana. So clearly Hindu में इस बार जो है, so it was largely a current affair question. These kind of questions, I'll tell you very honestly, unless you are a connoisseur, you should really avoid these kind of questions. There is absolutely no way that you are doing these questions if you have not really come across a concrete source in these kind of questions. Okay, great. Next one. Yes, in which of the following texts does the term Kshetrapatni, mistress of the field, originate? Kshetrapatni, mistress of the field, originate. So clearly, if you look at it, so it is very important for us to understand here that it is with regard to Atharva Ved. It is with regard to Atharva Ved. Why? Because it does really tell you about what? It does really tell you about, women's relation with the land. It does tell you about, women's relation with land. So clearly a certain kind of a feminine spirit that one really has here with regard to agriculture. So it has been categorically mentioned in Atharva Ved. Iska source agar aap dekhenge, so clearly there was an article on the website of Anantam IAS itself that had mentioned a certain kind of an obscure term like this. So clearly it is very important that you kind of, keep your eyes open, just, make sure that you are rerunning your eyes, rerunning, through these eclectic sources. But of course, if in case this question was also not attempted, so let us just move on to the other one. Which of the following Carnatic music ragas is similar to Rag Bilawal in Hindustani music? So clearly Rag Bilawal, again, very, very important, rag here. And if you would have done, I see a lot of tendency among students that, okay, so we don't really want to kind of, learn anything about Indian classical music. We don't really want to do anything about Indian paintings or for that matter Indian dancing traditions. No, the commission, it always wants you to learn about these things. That is why, hence the question from commission this time, exclusively based on these ragas. So clearly it tells you about the mindset of the commission. So the commission wants you to be culturally more woke, right? So clearly if you look at it, so Nat Bhairavi rag, so clearly rag Aswari, right? Asavari, rag Asavari, right? And then if you look at it, so Kumar Dhwani, yes, Kamavardhini, yes. So clearly यहाँ पे अगर हम देखेंगे, so it is पूरिया राग, पूरिया धनश्री भी बोलते हैं कई लोग. Some people also suggest that it is राग मारवा. Some people suggest that it is राग मारवा, and some people also suggest that it is either Puriya Dhanshri or for that matter it is Rag Marwa. But also if you look at it, so Hanuma Todi is certainly Bhairavi. Hanuma Todi is Rag Bhairavi, yes, right? So clearly this is precisely Dheer Shankar Bharanam. Dheer Shankar Bharanam is that one rag which is very, very similar to Bilawal, right? So clearly this is the correct option here. If you would have prepared your notes on Indian classical music, just one page notes, so this question could have been there, but never mind. Let us just move on to the next one. The artificially fixed rupee sterling exchange rate prescribed by Hilton Young Commission 1926 was adopted by the British government for which of the following reasons? Aiding the flow of remittances from India and maintaining India's creditworthiness? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Again, very, very basic from Hilton Young Commission, yes. But again, reruns of the syllabus is important. Providing support to Indian importers, not really, not in a very, very direct manner. Encouraging export of cotton produce from India, again, not necessarily, yes. Preventing depreciation of the rupee in terms of gold, not really, but clearly the first one is the most appropriate option here, yes. Next one. Consider the following statements. Pali texts contain the first definite references to coins. Example, Kahapana, Nikha, Kamsa, and Kahakanika. The literary evidence from Pali text is corroborated by archaeological evidence of punch-marked coins from many sites. Most of them were made of silver. So which time period are we talking about? Which time period are we talking about? We are talking about, 6th century BCE to 3rd century BCE. We are talking about 6th century BCE to 3rd century BCE. 3rd century BCE, right? So clearly, if you look at it, so yes, the above statement has been associated emergence of urban life. Yes, absolutely. Why? Because clearly, this is again, why do we know that this is 6th century BC to 3rd century BC? Because of punch-marked coins. Punch-marked coins. Similarly, emergence of urban life. Yes, because of Mahajanapadas. Mahajanapadas clearly emerged around this period and then transition to money economy. Yes, of course, we do find the reference to Nishk, we do find the references to, different ornaments of exchange in the Vedic period, but it is also very, very important for us to understand here that it was also a major transition was seen during the period of the Mahajanapadas. So clearly this is precisely how one kind of goes about it. Yes. Which of the following temples have a Nagar style Shikhara? Yes. Mega Malegitti Shivalaya Badami, Huchi Maligudi Temple Aihole, Dashavatar Temple Devgarh, Virupaksh Temple Patadakal. So clearly if you look at it, so clearly it is a Chalukyan style. It is a Chalukyan style temple, right? But certainly if you look at it, so it is not in Shikhar style. It is not in Shikhar style. Huchi Maligudi Gudi temple. Huchi Maligudi temple Aihole. Yes. Again, if you look at it, so again, a certain kind of a resemblance to Chalukyan architecture. Yes. But also if you look at it, it does really have a very, very beautiful ornate shikhar of Nagar style, right? Similarly, Dashavatar temple Devgarh, yes, during the time of the Guptas, but also if you look at it, it does have a beautiful panel of reclining Vishnu, which was inscribed on a temple wall for the first time. So clearly the Dashavatar temple, it also becomes very important. Virupaksh temple, Patadakal, yes, Vijayanagar style. So clearly, if you look at it, so clearly it is again a very, very important aspect here. So clearly it is just Huchi Maligudi temple, Aihole and Dashavatar temple, Devgarh, which are, the possible options here. Because clearly if you look at it, so it is very, very important for us to understand here that how does one really go about these temples. So you have to make sure that the students who have skipped the attempt this year, if they are planning to do it next year, so you need to maintain a very, very good list of the temples that have been asked in UPSC before. So that is the only way in which you can really mark these questions correct. Among the 4 main forms of existence recognized in Jainism, which of the following is not included? So clearly one is yes, Dev. Then you have Manushya. Yes, Manushya. Then you have yes, Tiryancha. And then you have Narakiya, the base beings, from hell. Yes, Narakiya. So clearly Devas wali hi category mein it is Yaksh. So Devas and Yakshas, they are rather same. So clearly, it is not Yaksha, but rather it is Narakiya. Okay, that is the correct option here. Next one, let us just see. Yes, the Hali Salasya painting in Bagh caves represent a joyous folk dance, Buddha in a meditative pose, the depiction of Shiva and Parvati on Kailash and Samudra Manthan. So clearly we do know that Bagh caves, they are very, very popular for Buddhist themes. Yes. Also if you look at it, so clearly it is very important to understand here from MP. Yes, of course. Also, if you look at it, so clearly, it is very, so Rang Mahal has also been a very, very important part of Bagh Caves. But also, if you look at it, so Hali Salasya painting is a certain kind of a folk dance that has rather been represented here. Okay, so clearly it is very important that one kind of knows about these nuances of these caves. Had you made a certain list of an exhaustive list of the caves that were there in ancient and early medieval Indian history, this question was doable. Okay, yes. Next one, consider the following statements regarding to the use of place value system in India. Place value system is decimal system, right? So clearly the earliest epigraphic use of the place value system in India is found as Mankani plates from Gujarat. Yes, in the 9th century, place value becomes general in inscriptions all over India. Yes, absolutely. यहाँ पे एक हम देखें, so place this inscription, it is associated with Taralaswamin, a ruler of the contemporary period who ended up donating what? Who ended up making the donations of rice? So clearly rice along with a certain kind of a land, and this is precisely Mankani in plates from Gujarat. So clearly this is precisely how one sees the very earliest epigraphic description of decimal system. If you look at it, so place value system. Otherwise, if you look at it, so clearly textually speaking, it is Aryabhat who is associated with it. Textually speaking, it is Aryabhat who is associated with. In the 9th century, place value becomes general in inscriptions all over India. Yes, it does actually. Right, so clearly it becomes very, very generic, right? So clearly the place values have been found in Sanskrit inscriptions in Southeast Asia as the 7th century. So yes, of course, it did really travel through maritime trade and all of those things. So yes, that is also a very, very correct option here. Yes, moving on to the next one. Consider the following statements about the archaeological findings in Harappan towns. There is a wide occurrence of spindle holes. So that means what? A certain kind of a hand spinning. Spindle holes were, when the spinning was done by hands. Okay, so spindle holes, right? Weights and measurements, scales complete with graduations have been discovered. There are houses built in large part with baked bricks around relatively spacious courtyards with their own wells, bathing platforms and large rooms. Which of the following inferences can be drawn from the above statements? So clearly the above statements are correct. They are correct. But which of the references can be made? Statement 1 suggests that spinning was a laborious activity done at home. Yes, of course, it does really suggest that. Statement 2 suggests that the extent of scientific knowledge that Harappans possessed. Yes, of course. Yes. But statement 3 suggests the emergence of a common property system. So clearly not. Even if you look at the very housing structure, of the town planning of Harappan system, it does not really denote a certain kind of a common property, but rather it is a certain kind of a property owned by an individual, right? So clearly it does not really suggest a certain kind of a common property system, because the very aspect of privacy, it has been maintained very, very well there, right? So clearly it is just 1 and 2 here, which is the correct option. So clearly, yes, the third statement, although it is correct, but the inference is not this one, right? Next one, yes. Which of the following statements about Eka movement and Bardoli Satyagraha is correct? The Eka movement was throughout supported and organized by the Congress, while Bardoli Satyagraha was clearly not. So they have clearly swapped these statements here. So clearly Bardoli under, of course, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, right? So clearly this is precisely how one sees it. The Eka movement was provided leadership by Talukdars of Awadh, while Bardoli Satyagraha was a movement of landless laborers. Again, it is not correct, right? So clearly the Eka movement was located in Varanasi and Mirzapur districts of present day UP, while Bardoli Satyagraha took place in, Saurashtra. So clearly this is again, because clearly it is, not Saurashtra, but if you look at it, so clearly again, from Surat and even from UP, they have not been very accurate here. So clearly it is clearly the C, therefore C is the correct option here. C is the correct option here. Yes, next one. Consider the following statements about Rigvedic period. Irrigation from wells allowed agriculture to expand away from flood plains and strips on river margins into present-day Punjab and Haryana, plains having underground water levels reasonably close to the surface. Animal power was employed to draw the water out of the wells. Following information, which of the following supports the above statements? There is evidence of Rigved as the use of Ashma Chakra, stone pulley wheel, and strapped wooden pails to draw up water. Mention has been made in the Rigved of the use of implements like Parashu, Kulisha, and Datra and Sreni. There is a history of use of oxen even before Rigved. So clearly the first and third statement are certainly correct here. The confusion arises because of the second statement, because it is suggested that maybe they were not directly used with irrigation. Not necessarily, since they were used along with since they were used for agriculture, we cannot really discard the complete possibility of their relationship with irrigation as well. So therefore, yes, it could be 1, 2, 3. It could be 1, 2, 3, but we are yet to wait for the answer key as well, because clearly the second statement, it could have been worded in a better manner. Okay. Yes. Which of the following statements with regard to the moidums built by Tai Ahom Kingdom inscribed as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO are correct? Acted as army fortresses? No. They were the recreation centers of royals and nobles? No. Similarly, they were burial grounds for the royals and nobles. Yes. They were the battle drill centers of royals and nobles. Clearly not. So clearly, yahan pe if you look at it, so it is very, very important for us to understand here the Ahom dynasty. Ahom dynasty, if you look at it, so clearly it is from 13th to 19th century CE. 13th to 19th century CE, they did have these burial grounds. Also, it was given the status of World Heritage Site in the year 2024. In the year 2024, also these were the burial grounds. These were the burial grounds. So clearly, it was yes, it was Maidums. So clearly, Maidums, Frank Maidums, right? So yes. My would be grave, and similarly dams would be, so clearly it would be a certain kind of a certain kind of a certain kind of a spirit, spirit in the local language, Assamese, right? So clearly this is precisely how one kind of goes about it. So it is 3, rather an easier question. Okay, so clearly these have rather been the questions with regard to history and art and culture. If you look at it, so modern Indian history, it has rather been still doable, but ancient Indian history along with art and culture, I am not saying medieval. I am not mentioning medieval because the questions like Ahoms and all of these aspects, they have been incorporated as art and culture related questions. I can only say that if the paper has been rather difficult for you, which has actually been a very, very difficult paper, certainly, and especially with regard to art and culture, it has rather been very, very difficult. So yes, it has also been very difficult for everybody else. So you do not really have to kind of conclude everything immediately. What I would rather suggest is that make sure that you are keeping up with your preparation, with your strategy, and yes, just I can only wish you all the very best from my side. Thank you very much.
Amazing, sir. Amazing. Such a nice, lovely explanation. Sir. So glad. Thank you. All the best. So, beyond.
Yes, test. Just confirm if I am audible. I am still getting the messages that the questions were unconventional. Still, one student has just messaged me. Yes, test. So, the point is that all of you have witnessed it, self-experienced it, and we have also seen the paper. And again, a message that what do you think? What will be the cutoff? So, see, the thing is that cutoff will be. We think that it will be low because the paper was on a difficult side, and it was not like something like moderate to difficult level. It obviously it was unconventional, and mostly the questions were coming from the factual area, so less of analytics and more of factual. लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स तो हैव सेड कि ये तो स्टेट पीसीएस का पेपर लग रहा है, यूपीएससी का लग भी नहीं रहा है, तो ठीक है, अब जो है सो है, राइट. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द ज्योग्राफी एंड एनवायरनमेंट सेक्शन. एंड दिस ईयर एनवायरनमेंट वाज रिलेटिवली इजी, आई थिंक, बिकॉज द एंटायर पेपर वाज दैट डिफिकल्ट. हर साल एनवायरनमेंट डिफिकल्ट लगता था, लेकिन इस बार पेपर इतना डिफिकल्ट आया तो एनवायरनमेंट लग रहा है कि वही ठीक था. Okay, but again, if you look at the questions, so in environment, not very vague questions were there. I am not saying that those were attemptable, but not vague. One question was on Madhav National Park, one question was on the species also, Western Hillock gubbin, so those are famous species. And as we have seen that no questions were asked from the world physical geography, that is concepts. No questions were there from the rivers and tributaries, and no questions were for the mountains and all those things. So again, as I said, and as you people are saying that it was an unconventional paper, so that is true. So without wasting much time, let us look at some of the questions which were there. And okay, so again the message, ठीक है, हो जाएगा, just wait for few minutes, let the answer key discussion get over, and we will get the marks of other students also. You people also just count your marks from the answer key which is given on our website also, and from this discussion also, and just send your answers to us, so we'll also get a good sample space to decide that in what range the cutoff might lie, right? But difficult tha, to cutoff niche jaane ki umeed to hai. Okay, so we are discussing set D of this year's paper, right? And we are on question number 21, with which the geography starts in this paper. This first question was from the current affairs. Again, the question is that Tungurahua volcano. So this volcano, which was declared a global geopark by UNESCO in 2025, is located in which of the following countries? So this is Ecuador. I was also not knowing it, so I am accepting it when the question came and I searched for it. So that's how I came to know that this is located in Ecuador. So conventionally, when we see the volcanoes which are located in the Andes mountains, we see the mountain like Cotopaxi is there, Chimborazo is there. So these are the important volcanic peaks. But this came because in 2025 it was declared as global geopark by UNESCO. So fine, it came. So the right answer will be A. Moving to question number 22. Question 22 was in relation to Madhav National Park. Now this is a famous national park, so many of you might be knowing about the location at least of this national park. So that is why if we look at it, this was true because this was the 58th national park and this was in news. This we know. It was declared as the 58th, sorry, not national park, 58th tiger reserve in India. So first statement was correct and it was in news. Second, Sakhya Sagar, which is designated as a Ramsar site, is situated within this national park. अब इसमें मैं मान सकता हूँ, factually this is correct, but I can agree that we might not be knowing about it. So इसको अभी हम drop कर देते हैं, अभी देखते हैं. Third is its area is shared between Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. So when you see its area shared between Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, this is not true. Why? Because it is entirely in the Madhya Pradesh, it does not share the areas with Rajasthan. So this is incorrect. So third is incorrect, so this removed, this removed. One is correct, but still you are left with two options. So if you are not knowing about the second statement, you cannot answer this question. Okay. So again, point boiling down to the content. If you know the content, then fine. If no, then it was difficult to attempt, right? However, the correct answer is option B. This is also right. The Saksha Sagar and Madhav Sagar, both of these wetlands are there in this national park. Okay. Moving to the next question, that is 23. Now this was, we can say, slightly from the conceptual part of Indian geography. The question is with reference to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. In this question, if we see the statement 1 is, the climate can be defined as a humid tropical coastal climate. We know this, we have discussed this also in basic classes, foundation and QIP classes also. Ye wala pata hai. Second, it receives the rainfall from both the southwest monsoon and northeast monsoon. Now, given the location of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal, so we can understand that it must be receiving the rainfall from the southwest as well as the northeast branch. So this also is true. Third is, maximum precipitation is between December and May. No. Maximum precipitation in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands is during summers. That is why, if you remember in the classes also I have told this, that if someone asks you that which is the first onset date of the monsoon arrival in India, so 1st June is the date given to Kerala, but when you talk about Andaman and Nicobar Islands, it is the month of May. 15th May is the onset date of the monsoon given in NCERT also. So agar 15th May is an important date for Andaman and Nicobar, that is the summer season, uske basis pe bhi hum isko jo hai wo incorrect कह सकते हैं, and therefore option B will be the right answer. इसको मैं easy question मानूंगा. ठीक है, जो डिफिकल्ट है वो है, जो इजी है वो है, फाइन. 24th क्वेश्चन, दिस क्वेश्चन इज ऑल्सो फाइन, रिलेटिवली इजी फ्रॉम द बेसिक इंडियन ज्योग्राफी. Which of the following geographical features or phenomena are associated with the peninsular block of India? Statement 1, submergence of the parts of the western coast due to tectonic activity. This is right, because we have seen that the western coast of India is the example of submergent coast and the eastern coast of India is the example of emergent coast. ये हमने किया भी था. Okay. Second statement, presence of the residual mountain ranges such as Velikonda Hills and Mahendragiri Hills. This is also correct. Fine, residual hills है, पता है पेनिसुला में है. Then deep V-shaped river valleys are formed by fast flowing rivers. Now in the peninsular India you have valleys, you have deep valleys also, but again in this question, when we look at the feature deep V-shaped valley fast flowing rivers, these are the key characteristics which are attributed to the Himalayan rivers. ठीक है, तो स्टैंड अलोन स्टेटमेंट जब आ रहा है, देन वी विल गिव इट फॉर द हिमालयन रिवर्स, राइट? सो दैट इज वाई फॉर दिस क्वेश्चन वी हैव टेकन एज 1 and 2 as the right answer, that is option B. Next, consider the following statements about foxtail orchids, right? So the scientific name is given, pronounce करना में थोड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है, and we do not read those terms also, ठीक है, but common name is the orchids. Now we know that orchids are found in the Arunachal Pradesh. They require a very good, they require a specific and unique climatic condition, that is temperature inversion, to grow, right? And if we look at this particular statement, this species is an epiphytic species. So it is an epiphyte. This is true. Statement 3 is also true, that it is state flower of Arunachal and Assam. This is also true. This statement is incorrect. The species is endemic to the northeastern India. Okay, because this species is endemic to different other countries also. For example, if you look at the explanation, it is endemic to Southeast Asia, including the Indian subcontinent, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia. So ऐसा नहीं है that it is specifically exclusively found in the northeastern part. Right? Next, again a species based question, but this species, at least we have heard about this species, so it is not like a species which was being asked by UPSC in last 2 to 3 years. And a western hillock gibbon species, and a very important national park also, Holongapar Wildlife Sanctuary, in this regard. So on this we had a question. Statement 1 says, a sanctuary in the northeastern India is home to this ape species listed as endangered as per the IUCN status. This is true. And which is the sanctuary? Holongapar Wildlife Sanctuary. Second statement is, They have specialized brachiation and can easily swing between the trees. So yes, we know that they live in trees, they jump across the trees. So they have a lot of traits which are similar to the monkeys, and that is why this statement is also true. So 1 and 2 are correct. Third is, they possess a strong and heavy built like gorillas. So no, they do not have a strong and heavy built like gorillas. And that is why we have taken option 1 and 2 as the right answer. Okay. Next, which of the following best explains the rationale for protecting the mangrove ecosystems in the context of climate change? इस क्वेश्चन को भी हम इजी मान सकते हैं. If you have understood the basics of mangroves, we know that mangroves are what? Mangroves are the halophytic vegetation. Halophytic vegetation means these vegetations live in the saline water. Correct? So if the species are living in saline water, these species are found in the coastal area, and we know that coastal area are known to have saline water or let's say brackish water. लेकिन fresh water तो नहीं होता है. Read the statement 1. Mangrove reduces the tidal energy. ये बात ठीक है. But and store the fresh water, making them ideal sites for paddy cultivation in saline estuarine belts. Now this statement is incorrect. Next, their salt sensitive roots filter the seawater, making mangroves key to converting coastal land into freshwater aquaculture zones. This is also incorrect. Freshwater nahi hai wahan pe. Then talking about the third, by withstanding the tidal surges, offering biomass resources, mangrove function both as natural bioshields and livelihood bases. This is true. So if we look, option D, that is 3 only, will be the correct answer. ठीक है, तो ये भी ठीक है. Moving to the next question. This question came from the intersection of the current affairs and geography. Or port has become, I guess, one of the favorite areas for UPSC. If you remember, last year also, and previous to that year also, there were questions on the port. The question has already been asked on the Mundra port, right? So similarly, this year the question has been asked on the Vizhinjam port. So the question says that this particular port represents a structural shift in India's maritime trade and logistics policies. So in this regard, we have to see that what are the statements, and we have to find out the correct ones. Statement 1, by functioning exclusively as a domestic cargo hub. So now this is not an exclusive domestic cargo hub. It will function as both domestic cargo hub also as well as the destination to export the products also. So sirf domestic nahi hai, that makes this statement incorrect. Statement 2, by focusing primarily on the passenger cruise tourism. अब यहाँ पर भी, it is not focusing primarily on the cruise tourism. It is focusing primarily on the trade. So which makes this statement also the incorrect one. Right? Third statement is by leveraging its natural deep draft and strategic location to reduce dependence on foreign transshipment ports, enhance revenue between reposition. This is true. एक ही option बच भी रहा है. So this is fine, right? So statement 1 and 2 are incorrect. So that is why option D, 3 only will be the right answer. Moving to the next question. Now this question is also a little bit of confusing, but if you clearly and read this question with good focus, you will be able to identify the answer. The question says, identify the river which has these characteristics in India. Okay, and UPSC has given very interesting the options also. It says it has antecedent drainage system. So we say in generally the Himalayan river system is an example of antecedent drainage system. So Brahmaputra is antecedent, Indus is antecedent, Satluj is antecedent, Tista is antecedent. All the 4 rivers qualify the first condition. Second, it says it flows through the 3 countries. That means that it is transboundary river. Now if you talk about Indus, it is coming from Tibet, passing through India, moving into Pakistan. Similarly, if you look at Brahmaputra, moving from Tibet, growing through India, then finally moving into Bangladesh. So अब इसके हिसाब से भी there are more than one options in this which can be correct. Next, it originates in the Tibetan plateau and is an important river for irrigation also. So इसमें भी Indus, Brahmaputra and Satluj all are important for irrigation. Then it does not form distributaries. This is an important thing, that it does not form distributaries. If you talk about Indus, so Indus is a primary river which is draining into Arabian Sea, making delta. So the rivers which make delta are known to have distributaries. Why? Because the terrain is very flat. Similarly, Brahmaputra, when it is into the Sundarban Delta, it also forms a lot of, it experiences lot of lateral divergence and hence distributaries. Here, Satluj becomes important. So because Satluj is entering into Indus, so when the river enters into some major river as a tributary, there are very less chances that there will be distributaries. That is how you can you can arrive at this solution. Hence, for this, option C, Satluj, will be the right answer. Moving to the next question, which of the following with reference to the Indian state is correct? अब यार ये सवाल एकदम factual है, ठीक है? That is true that these are some of the facts which we do read while going through this preparation. For example, the longest coastline of the Indian state. So we know that it is not Rajasthan, it is West Bengal. So कुछ facts, basic facts हैं, but yes, this was a factual question, है ना? So if you have the content only, then you will be able to mark it. Statement 1 says, Uttar Pradesh shares its boundary with the highest number of other Indian states. This statement is correct. But the question is asking you which of the statement is not correct. तो ये जिसने नॉट करेक्ट और करेक्ट के कारण गलत किया है तो वो एक बड़ा नुकसान है. इट इज आस्किंग यू नॉट करेक्ट. फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट इज करेक्ट एंड हेंस इट विल नॉट बी अ पार्ट ऑफ द आंसर. सेकंड, राजस्थान शेयर्स द लॉन्गेस्ट इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर अमंग ऑल द इंडियन स्टेट. इट इज इनकरेक्ट बिकॉज द स्टेट इज वेस्ट बंगाल विच शेयर्स बॉर्डर्स विद बांग्लादेश एंड द लेंथ क्रॉसेस 2000 kilometers. Third, Sikkim is the only state that shares its boundary with just one other state, but this is not true. For example, Meghalaya, if we see, Meghalaya also borders only one Indian state, that is Assam. So this statement is also incorrect. Now because 2 and 3 are incorrect and hence the answer will be 2 and 3. Right? Next, question number 37. Question number 37 of set D is asking you about the Amur falcons. Now this is also species based questions, but again if you see ऐसा कुछ अतरंगी नहीं पूछा गया इसमें. For example, in the last 2-3 years we have seen the questions which were coming from the species, they were just random and asking anything related to their sociological behavior, physiological behavior, anything. If you again closely look at this question, it is also solvable. Statement 1 says, it showcases how the sustained local conservation efforts can contribute to the arrival and protection of international migratory birds. This is correct because this is one of the successful case studies and we know this, okay? The question was asking about Amur falcons which are present in the Doyang Lake in Nagaland. Statement 1 true. Carefully read statement 2. We know that Amur falcons are coming from the cold, higher polar area, tundra areas, and then to avoid their winters, harsh winters, they move through India and then move across the tropical areas, right? Statement 2 says, it reflects the global success of advanced tracking technologies that guide migratory birds back to their stopover sites. No, this is incorrect. Technology का कोई ऐसा role नहीं है. These Amur falcons have evolved in such a way that they have developed a specific pathway. Right? So they come through that pathway and then they move back through their own pathway. That is how the evolution has taken place. It is not because of some global technology. 3. It confirms that Amur falcons have adapted to the permanent residency in India due to favorable permanent to nahi hai. We know that these are migratory species. That is why only one A will be the right answer. Correct? Next question is in relation to the Rain-Fed Area Development Initiative under the National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture. This question is also easily, you can solve it if you closely look at the statements. Statement 1 says, it encourages the monoculture in the rain-fed area. यार कोई भी government scheme ऐसी नहीं बनेगी जो कि monoculture को promote करेगी, है ना? So that is why statement 1 you can mark it incorrect. Statement 2 says, increasing the rice cultivation in the irrigated regions. Now we are talking about the rain-fed area development program. So on this basis, you can say that this statement is also incorrect. Statement 3 says that it focuses on enhancing the productivity and minimizing the climatic risk through integrated farming system. This is correct. Therefore, option D, 3 only, will be the right answer. Is that okay? ठीक है. Just a minute. Okay. Now question number 40. The question is asking you, in short, the bordering countries of Strait of Hormuz. Okay. The question asks that if, let's say, you have to cross the Strait of Hormuz to reach the Indian Ocean, you have to travel or cross which of these countries? Okay. So the question asks you the ships from which of the following countries have to cross the Strait of Hormuz. So if we look at it, Bahrain, Syria, Qatar, and Egypt. If you closely look at it, that Bahrain and Qatar, from here if you are moving and if you want to enter into Indian Ocean, then you have to cross the Strait of Hormuz. So it is somewhat like this. This is Africa, this is Arabia, here you have Iran, this is the Strait of Hormuz, right? If you are talking about Syria, Syria is somewhat located in this region. So Syria will be coming from this. Egypt also is in this region. So from Egypt also you have to come. There is no question of Strait of Hormuz there. It is only in which countries? In Bahrain and in Qatar, which are located in this area. That is how the ships can enter Indian Ocean through the Strait of Hormuz, and that is why 1 and 3B will be the right answer. Okay. Now Strait of Hormuz, again हमें पता है, when Russia-Ukraine war was in news, the questions were there on the bordering countries of Ukraine, right? When now Iran and US-Israel conflict was there, so all of us must be expecting the question on Strait of Hormuz. तो ये वाली बात है. Next, this question has come from the current affairs section. The question is talking about the Nirantar, that is National Institute for Research and Application on the Natural Resources, Transform, Adapt and Build Resilience. Now, we are famous to give acronyms. Okay, so the question was on the Nirantar program, right? If you look at this, Statement 1 says the ecosystem survey and analysis in a vertical under this platform, the lead institute of which is Botanical Survey of India, Kolkata. So Botanical Survey of India is located in Kolkata, and that is why this is true. Statement 2 says the research and management of ecosystem services is a vertical under this platform, the lead institute of which is the Central Zoo Authority, that is in New Zealand. Okay. Now this statement is incorrect. Similarly, because Central Zoo Authority is not here, located here. So statement 3 is that the capacity development support is a vertical under this platform, the lead institute of which is the Indian Institute of Forest Management, Bhopal. This statement is correct, right? So again, I was also not knowing the answer of this question to be very true, but when this question came, so again, factual question, the location of authorities and their role in a specific program is not the thing which in general we would be preparing, hai na? So again, I will call this question as the scheme was in news, but the dimension on which this question has been asked was something which we do not prepare in general, right? So correct answer for this will be 1 and 3. Moving to the next question. Now again, this question is also very, very specific. Again, I know that many of us might not be knowing the answer for this question also. Again, a factual content based question. If you have read it, if you have memorized it, only then you will be able to answer it, right? So consider the following statements about the rice bridges connecting India with the neighboring countries. So one is the Maitri Setu, and then you have to tell me, you have to tell UPSC that it is built over which river and connects which of the following towns in different countries like India and Bangladesh. Similarly, the Jhula Ghat suspension bridge connects which country. Similarly, the Mechi bridge and its approach connect which bypass. So again, a factual question. The correct answer for this is C, that is 1 only. There is nothing to discuss for this question. जो है सो है वो वाली बात. Next, this question, because sometimes it comes in news in the context of India's bilateral relations and the India's contribution in different countries in relation to the socio-economic development programs. For example, this Magdechu hydroelectric project is very famous. So many of you might be knowing that it is located in Bhutan. So if A is 3, then you'll clearly have just 2 options, that is B and C. And here also D will be 1, that is common. So if you mark D as 1, this is sorted. Now, the remaining is B and C. Restoration of the Store Palace and District Hospital at Dikoya, right? So if we look at it, the correct answer for this will be option B. That is B is 2, restoration of Store Palace, and C is District Hospital at Dikoya is Bhutan. थोड़ा language से भी इसको guess कर सकते थे. You could have taken a calculated guess also. That's fine. Okay. The last question which now we are talking is question number 30. I forgot to take it initially. So question 30 is also from the geography environment section. The question is that which one of the following is the first plan Vivo certified reducing emissions from the deforestation and forest degradation RED Plus project in India? Again a current affair based question. So out of 14 to 15 questions which have come in geography and environment, there are around 4 questions which were directly from the current affairs, which 4 to 5 questions which I found very difficult, तो वो अपने को भी नहीं आते थे, fine. But there were around 7 to 8 questions which were doable in geography and environment, and remaining 2 to 3 questions were on the basis of calculated guess. ठीक है, तो geography and environment वाला section was not conventional, it was unconventional, that is true, but वो बहुत difficult वैसा नहीं है. Geography and environment paper तो difficult है. So the right answer for this is C. Again a factual portion, that Khasi Hills Community RED Plus project is the first project which has been certified under reducing emissions from deforestation, that is a RED Plus program, right? So that was all about geography and environment, and now I would be inviting Weber sir to talk about the polity questions. बहुत ज़्यादा questions आ गए हैं polity में. तो okay, I am giving the mic to sir.
थैंक यू सो मच गौरव सर. कभी ऐसे ही हमने ज्योग्राफी के लो नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस का मजाक उड़ाया है, कोई बात नहीं. यूपीएससी फिर से पैटर्न चेंज करेगा और फिर से ज्योग्राफी और पॉलिटी का नाम होगा, क्योंकि कब तक ऐसे तुम रैंडम क्वेश्चंस पूछोगे. देयर इज़ ऑल्सो अ डेडलाइन टू इट. यू कैन नॉट एग्जॉस्ट so many random topics. So let's now quickly discuss the only 6 questions that have come from polity. And since last 7 years that I have been discussing the UPSC paper after I entered into teaching from my final attempt, this is the first time that polity has been, expelled to the very last of the peripheral subjects of the UPSC because of the very low number of questions that had been asked. Without wasting your time, because you're already very tired, this is set D. You have already seen that. Question number 79 in set D is the first actual polity question. The question is that what is the correct interpretation of Article 13, where a person teaching in the class says that it does not include custom in the authority of India, in the territory of India having the force of law, to which Mr. Y says, no sir, it also includes custom. And so you can see that obviously the right answer to this question is that the view of only Y is correct, because X probably did not read Article 13 clause 3 clearly. So this is a very, very straightforward question, directly rooted in the Bayer Act. Every year we get 10 to 12 such questions. This year there are only 2 such questions, and next one is also one such question. The question is rooted in the understanding of article number 393, article number 394, and article number 395. And these 3 articles clearly lay down how the Constitution of India will take in effect, and how the previous laws and what will be their authority post the commencement or the promulgation of the Indian Constitution. So the statement number 1 says there is no article that specifies that the Constitution will be officially called the Constitution of India. There is an article, and this is an incorrect statement. Article number 393 is specifically for that purpose. Then there is no article in the Constitution of India that specifies that the Indian Independence Act and the Government of India Act 1935 shall stand repealed. There is such article, that is article number 395. That's also incorrect. There is no article in the Constitution of India that mentions 26 January. There is an article that is known as the commencement of this Constitution. And so the right answer would be there is no correct statement. All of them are wrong. There is no correct statement. So on the PPT it was misspelled as D, but on the website, which is going very viral because of the accurate and the immediate answer key, the shortest possible time we have produced such an accurate answer key because of the involvement of all the faculties, the teamwork. Which of the following statement with regard to the person with disability in India is correct? And they have asked questions related to a pretty old act, that was the Persons with Disability Act of 2016. And the first question, the Right of Person with Disability Act, an act passed by the Parliament of India in 2018, is incorrect because specifically of the date. So wherever the dates are asked, you should know that the UPSC can play around. This is something that we learn in the strategy classes also. The Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan focuses on achieving universal accessibility for persons with disabilities across 3 domains: built infrastructure, transport system, information and communication technology. That's a correct statement. However, third statement is incorrect because NDFDC is a public sector organization not under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs but under the Ministry of Social Justice, leading us to the right answer B. The only statement that is correct is 2. Consider the following statement about the provisions pertaining to the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Provisions regarding the administration of tribal affairs, tribal areas in the state of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram are given in 5th schedule. Not at all. These are the 4 specific states for which the special provisions have been provided under the 6th schedule. Some of the tribes in India are entitled to exemption from paying income tax on certain incomes. That's absolutely correct. The Constitution of India provides for reservation of seats. That's also correct. And so the right answer would be, there are 2 correct statements. That include statement number 2 also. A very, very unique and a novel way of asking questions. Consider the following statements in respect of questions asked by members in the Parliament of India. 1 second. Unstarred questions are those to which members desire an oral answer directly from Lakshmikant, directly from, straightforward from the basic polity classroom standard teaching. You know that whenever the questions are submitted to the speaker marks them as starred or unstarred. The starred questions are asked orally, and hence there is a possibility of supplementary questions. Unstarred questions are answered in a written fashion, the answers which appear on PIB website, and so you cannot ask supplementary questions. So unstarred questions are those to which the members desire an oral answer is an incorrect statement. Starred questions are those to which members desire a written answer. That's also incorrect. No supplementary question can be asked on the unstarred question. See, there is only one correct statement. Consider the following statements about the Committee on Welfare of Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes of the Parliament of India. There is a committee consisting of members from both Lok Sabha, House of the People, as well as Council of the States, Rajya Sabha, consisting of 20 members from Lok Sabha and 10 members from Rajya Sabha. Although members of committee are elected from both the Houses of the Parliament, the chairperson of the committee is appointed by, not by the chairman of Rajya Sabha, but by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. 20 members are elected by the Rajya Sabha, not at all. 20 members are elected by Lok Sabha. No minister except for the Union Minister of Social Justice Empowerment is eligible. No minister is allowed to become a member. Members are elected for a fixed term of 2 years, not at all. The members are elected just for a term of 1 year, and so the right answer would be, there is no correct statement. Then there is a question that has directly come from our Polity Current Affairs magazine. You can go and check on the website or the PDF. Which of the following statements about zero FIR under the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita BNSS 2023 are correct? A zero FIR can be lodged at a police station even though the place of commission of a cognizable or a non-cognizable offence is outside the territorial jurisdiction of that police station. That's correct. And that is why it is not known as FIR, it is known as zero FIR. Because generally under the FIR, the place of incident should fall within the territorial jurisdiction of the station officer, the station, police station. But in certain occasions, it might not be possible. And so the provision has been made that although the incident has happened in Delhi, the FIR can be filed in some other place in Rajasthan, in Gujarat, or even in Tamil Nadu. So that is known as zero FIR. So that's a correct statement. Now, the officer in charge of the police station where zero FIR has been lodged may, with the permission of the competent authority, initiate a preliminary inquiry. That's not a correct statement. Under zero FIR, it is obligatory for the informant to furnish information electronically. That's an option that has been given, but there is no compulsion to furnish an FIR electronically or digitally. That will become E0 FIR, electronic zero FIR. For a normal zero FIR, there is an option of submitting or furnishing the evidences in an online fashion, but that can be done manually also. So the right answer would be C, one only. Then the 3 investigating agencies of our country which have been quite in news because of the frequent use that the ruling dispensation puts them to have been asked in question. CEIB, then Serious Fraud Investigation Office, SFIO, and CBI. And so their functions and controlling ministry has been matched. So you have to know which one of them are absolutely correctly matched across the 3 columns. And so obviously this is just a factual information that none of them are correctly matched, because CEIB is not under Ministry of Home Affairs, but as you can see in the solution that it is under the Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. Similarly, Serious Fraud Investigating Office is that is also incorrectly matched, because that is not under Ministry of Finance but under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and CBI is certainly Ministry of Personal, Public Grievance and Pensions to preserve the values in public life and ensure health of the national economy is not the purpose of CBI. So CBI becomes incorrect not because of the controlling ministry mismatch but because of the functional mismatch. So the right answer is none of them are correct. And now I would like to take a moment to call the next faculty. The next faculty is Adhar sir, who has been teaching science and technology with us at Anantam IS. So let me call him in 1 minute.
Hello everyone, I will be taking the science and tech portion from here. So the first question here is about the Dhruv 64. Which of the following statements about Dhruv 64 are correct? So first, what is Dhruv 64? Dhruv 64 is the indigenous microprocessor that has been developed under the Ministry of Electronics. So the first statement is it is the third chip fabricated under the DRV program with an overall aim to enable the creation of microprocessors in India. Yes, this is a correct statement, because under the DRV program, we have aimed to strategically develop the microprocessors and provide sufficiency in microprocessor development in our country. Second statement is it is the India's first homegrown 1 gigahertz 64-bit dual-core processor. This statement is also correct, and that's why the answer will be both 1 and 2. Next question. Next question is, which of the following statements with regard to India's indigenous new high-resolution weather model, the Bharat Forecast System, are correct? So first is, what is Bharat Forecast System? Bharat Forecast System has been developed under Ministry of Earth Sciences and aims at providing sufficiency in forecasting the weather under the global weather model. Let's see the first statement. The first statement is, its objective is to generate forecast at the panchayat cluster level. Yeah, this statement is correct, because the program provides high resolution, which is 66 kilometers. That's why that means that it can provide resolution of forecast up to the panchayat cluster levels, which has been given in the statement. That's why this statement is correct. Coming to the next statement, it was developed by the IIT Delhi. No, this statement is wrong. It has been developed under IITM Pune in collaboration with the IMD. So answer will be A, 1 only. So the next question is, which of the following statements regarding the features of blockchain technology are correct? So first thing is, what is blockchain technology? Blockchain is the decentralized and distributed ledger in which securely protects and transfers the data on the peer-to-peer network. So let's see the first statement. It says it records and stored in the database may be made visible to relevant stakeholders without risk of alteration. Yeah, this statement is correct, because in blockchain technology, data is immutable. Second statement is, copies of the entire database are stored in multiple computers on network syncing within seconds. Yeah, this statement is also correct because this blockchain technology uses the nodes and syncs it on the level of microseconds and seconds so that data remains updated all the time. Now the third statement is consortium blockchain is a blend of public and private blockchains allowing selective data access. So this statement is not correct because this is the definition of hybrid blockchain, and that's why we will not go with this statement, and this statement remains wrong. Coming to the last statement, mathematical algorithms make it impossible to change or delete any data once recorded and accepted. Yes, this statement is again correct and is in line with the first statement, and this is also true because the data is immutable in the blockchain technology. Thus the answer will be C, that is 1, 2 and 4. Coming to the 66th question, which of the following statements with regard to genetic medicine are correct? So the first statement is genetic medicines correct, compensate or faulty genes responsible for the diseases. So here first we need to understand that what is genetic medicine. Genetic medicine is an arising field of science which uses the individual's genetic code to diagnose and treat the diseases within the person. So going by this knowledge, let's see what is the first statement. The first statement is actually correct because it acts on the faulty genes only. Coming to the next statement, engineered viruses and lipid nanoparticles are used as carriers of genetic medicine. So yes, this statement is also correct because nanoparticles of various kinds are used in the technology to plant or to give the medicine to the particular person on a particular location, which is very specific at the genetic level using the nanoparticles. Now coming to the last statement, genetic medicines alter the entire DNA sequence. Now this statement has a problem because altering the entire DNA sequence will itself create multiple problems furthermore, and actually in the technology of the genetic medicine that the alteration is only of particular gene which is creating the problem, and that's why this statement is wrong, and the answer will be C, that is 1 and 2 only. So the next question is question number 67. Which of the following statements with regard to large language models, LLMs, used in machine learning are correct? So first we need to understand that what are LLMs, large language models. Large language models are the advanced deep learning systems which have been trained on the massive data sets to understand, translate, summarize, and even creating human-like text based on the machine learning. Going by this knowledge, let's see the first statement. LLMs assign probabilities to the next possible words and then pick the one with the highest probability. Yeah, this statement is correct because that's what the work of LLMs is, to create human-like text and thinking like human that what can be the next thing. Second statement is LLMs process data through mathematical optimization to minimize prediction errors. Yes, this is also correct. Third statement is LLMs produce unbiased outputs. Now this statement actually has the problem. We know that LLMs use the massive data sets to train itself by the deep learning. But here the data sets, if they would be having any biases against anyone, then this bias will be inherited by the LLMs, and this is actually a problem of research, that how to minimize this thing. That's why this statement is incorrect, and the answer would be B, that is 1 and 2. Next question is question number 68. Which of the following statements regard to stealth technology are correct? So first we need to understand that what is stealth technology. Stealth technology is the set of design techniques that are used to make aircrafts, ships, and even missiles to make them less visible to the enemy radars. So this kind of technology is used mainly by the military personnel or in the equipment to make them less visible in the state of art. Going to the first statement. The first statement is stealth objects have very small radar cross section and are coated with radar absorbing materials. So yeah, this is correct. This is in line with the idea that we know that yes, if they would be having very short, small radar cross section, only then they would not be visible to the radar. Next statement is stealth objects can be detected using specific frequency. Yeah, this is also correct. Only if we know that what kind of frequency is there in which that aircraft will be visible, then aircraft will be visible. Otherwise, if the person is not able to know that what particular frequency they have been designed to be visible for, they will not be visible, and that's the only purpose of stealth technology. This statement is correct. Going to the third statement, stealth objects are coated with metamaterials to increase the scattering of electromagnetic radiation. Now this is a problem. If there would be an increase of scattering of electromagnetic radiation, they will be more visible to the radar, and that's why the purpose of stealth technology will be defeated. So instead of increase, in this statement there should be reduction. Thus, this statement is wrong, and the answer will be C, that is 1 and 2. Coming to the question number 69, which of the following statements regard to black boxes used in modern aircraft are correct? So black boxes are actually the crash survivable flight recorders which are used in commercial aircrafts. So multiple times you might have heard that this crash has happened and the government or the agencies are looking for the black box so that they can do the forensics and they can identify the cause of the crash and something like that, because black box is something that records everything that is happening in the cockpit. So the question is about that only. Let's see the first statement. They carry beacon emitting red light pulses to facilitate underwater detection. Now this statement has a problem. First problem is that light cannot travel if the aircraft is somewhere which is in deep water or somewhere deep buried in the rubble or anything like buried somewhere which is deep in the jungle or somewhere. So this has a logical problem also. Furthermore, the beacon that is emitted is not of light pulses, it is actually of ultrasonic acoustic ping at 37.5 kilohertz. So this is the correct data, and according to this statement is wrong. Coming to the next statement, they record both cockpit voice and flight data. Yes, we know this, we have discussed this before. Next statement is their memory units are made using either stainless steel or titanium. Yes, this is correct. In order to sustain the various catastrophic impacts that the cockpits have due to various crashes or some accident, the black boxes, if we want to protect them, they must be very robust, and these kind of materials provide robust structure to the black boxes. So the answer would be B, that is 2 and 3 only. Coming to the next question, which of the following statements regarding the green hydrogen are correct? So green hydrogen is formed by electrolysis of water using the electricity formed by the renewable energy. That's why the word green is there, and that's why we have to see that what kind of options are there which can provide us knowledge that this green hydrogen are correct. First statement is, it is decarbonized hydrogen obtained from natural gas reforming combined with carbon capture and storage, CCS. This statement is actually explanation of blue carbon. That's why this statement is wrong. Coming to the next statement, it is produced using electrolysis of water with electricity generated by renewable energy. Yes, this is the basic definition of green hydrogen. Next statement is National Green Hydrogen Mission of India aims at abatement of nearly 50 MMT of annual greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. Yeah, this statement is correct and has been taken from the main mission program, and that is the 5 MMT of green hydrogen production by 2030 and abatement of nearly 50 MMT of annual GHG emissions per MNRE. Thus, statement 2 and 3 are correct and B is the answer. Coming to the question number 71. Consider the following statements with regard to involvement of private entities in India's space program. So the question is about the policies which ensures that private players should come into the India's space program, which has been the centerpiece and the nucleus of government policy, so that they can provide more diversity in the talent pool of the space program, India's space program. First statement is the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, that is INSpace, is an autonomous agency formed to facilitate participation of private entities. Yes, this statement is correct. Coming to the next statement, Agnikul Cosmos launched the world's first flight using 3D printed rocket engine. Yes, this statement is also correct. Last statement is Skyroot Aerospace has developed liquid fuel for GSLV. Now this statement has a problem because Skyroot Aerospace has developed solid and cryogenic stages, not the liquid fuel for GSLV. That's why the answer will be C, that is 1 and 2. Which of the following statements with regard to drone swarms is correct? So what are drone swarms? Drone swarms is a networked synchronized formation of drones, that is unmanned aerial vehicles. So regarding this, let's see the first statement. They use terahertz band of frequency to communicate with the command center. Now this statement has a problem because terahertz band of frequency has a problem of attenuation. So if we will using such kind of bandwidth of frequency, then the communication will be having gaps, and that will be problem in the synchronization and the movement of the drone swarm, which is a problem while in the state of art of war is there, when there will be loss of communication. So this statement is not correct. Coming to the second statement, individual drones in the swarm can communicate with other drones in the swarm. Yeah, this is correct. Here we can see this. By this diagram we can see that drones are actually able to communicate with the other drones in the same swarm. This statement is correct. Coming to the third statement, GPS spoofing is a commonly used technique to counter drone swarm attack. Yeah, this is also correct because GPS spoofing is something that tackles the problem of targeting the drone swarm, which is used by which is used primarily by using various missiles which are able to detect and target these drones in the swarm network, which ultimately leads to the failure of the swarm network and the decay of the operation. So the answer will be B, that is 2 and 3. First statement is wrong. Coming to the question number 73, which of the following statements with regard to Genome India project are correct? So Genome India project is a program launched under Department of Biotechnology, and the purpose of this scheme or program is to catalog the genetic diversity in the diverse Indian population. Let's go to the first statement. It is a part of Human Genome Project. No, this statement is wrong. Human Genome Project that started in 2003 doesn't had India as is member. So first statement is wrong. The project is funded by Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. This is correct. It is primarily aim is to build a catalog of genetic diversity of Indian population. Yeah, this is the basic and the fundamental objective of the program. So the answer will be B, that is 2 and 3. Next question is, which of the following statements with regard to the National Quantum Mission is the correct? So National Quantum Mission has been launched under Department of Science and Tech, and the purpose of the program is to develop the quantum science in our country, make India sufficient in quantum computing, and the special focus is on indigenous research and development in the field of quantum technology. Looking at the first statement, it aims at developing intermediate scale quantum computers with 50 to 100 physical qubits. This statement is correct because this is one of the founding objectives of the program. Here the question is, what is qubits? Qubits is these are not the regular binary bits that is in 0 and 1. It is actually a bit which is in between 0 and 1. Coming to the next statement, its implementation includes setting up of 4 thematic hubs in an academic and national R&D institute across India. This statement is also correct. Various thematics have been established and various academic institutions like IITs and IISCs. This statement is also correct. Thus the answer is C. This is a simple question, both 1 and 2. Next question is question number 75. Which of the following statements with regard to India's deep ocean mission are correct? So first is, what is India's deep ocean mission? India's deep ocean mission has been launched under Ministry of Earth Sciences, and the purpose of deep ocean mission is to explore the deep sea and sustainably harness the ocean related minerals and the marine resources. Coming to the first statement, it was launched by the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. This statement is not correct. Second statement is, Matsya 6000 has been designed to carry 3 people for deep sea exploration. Yeah, this is also correct. Actually, Matsya is a underwater pod which is used for exploring the seabed and studying, and have various kind of instrument for the study of the seabed. Third statement is, Samudrayan is a project under this mission. Yeah, this is a sub project under this mission, and Samudrayan is the manned submersible project under the deep ocean mission. Hence statement 2 and 3 are correct and B is the answer. Okay, so science and tech section ends here, and we can see that there was a proper repetition of themes here, although there have been new themes also, but the question paper was in the line of the previous year trends, and 12 questions has come in the this year's paper, which is actually a good number of questions for science and tech sector. So now the coming will be Abhishek Sharma sir. He will be taking ethics, current affairs and the miscellaneous sections. Thank you.
Hello. So am I audible to everyone? So now we'll be dealing with the last leg of our prelims discussion for today, and we'll be dealing various miscellaneous questions, current affairs questions, and ethics-based, case study-based questions which have appeared for the first time in your civil services examination paper, right? So we'll be moving from question number 25. Now, ideally speaking, this is an environment and ecology, economy wala question, but because it is since it is an assertion and reason based question, we'll be dealing this question in that manner, right? So consider the following statements with reference to Sagarmala project or program of the government of India, and they have given 3 statements, and then they have asked that particular question. So the first statement is, the Sagarmala program seeks to achieve port-led economic growth through cost-effective and sustainable coastal infrastructure, right? So this is a correct statement, that the aims and objective of Sagarmala project is to achieve port-led economic growth through cost-effective and sustainable coastal infrastructure. Second statement is, the success of Sagarmala program is reflected in significant growth in coastal and inland waterway shipping, along with improved global port ranking. So first statement is setting a baseline, and then second statement is further buttressing or substantiating or consolidating the achievements, right? And the third statement is, Sagarmala 2.0 aims to position India as a global maritime innovation hub aligned with Atmanirbhar Bharat and Viksit Bharat 2047 vision. So these 3 statements are given. All of these are for our consideration. Now the question comes, which of the following relationships among the above statement are correct? So these 3 statements are given, and now we have to establish a relationship. तो क्वेश्चन यहाँ से सॉल्व होगा. द फर्स्ट वन इज स्टेटमेंट 1. स्टेटमेंट 2 validates the effectiveness of the strategies envisioned in statement 1. So in statement 1, broad vision is given. Statement 2 is buttressing or consolidating the effectiveness of strategies envisioned in the statement 1. So statement 1 is correct. Okay. Second one is statement 3 extends the objectives of statement 1 by embedding them into a future oriented innovation framework. So this is also correct. Third one is statement 1 contradicts statement 2. No, this is not happening. Statement 1 जो है वो contradict नहीं कर रहा है statement 3 को. You can clearly read. Statement 1 is, Sagarmala project seeks to achieve port-led economic growth, and Sagarmala 2.0 aims to position India as global maritime innovation hub. तो ये further consolidate और buttress कर रहा है उस statement को rather than contradicting. So 3 is incorrect. So right answer would be B. Again, we are discussing set D for the examination which has been held today. The next question will be (28th question), right? So read out the question. At the United Nations Ocean Conference held in June 2025. So what is the point for consideration for us is that एक साल पहले के भी questions उन्होंने international conferences से पूछे हैं, right? The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations demonstrated a leading voice on marine and ocean issues, especially on sustainable fisheries and aquaculture for resilient livelihood and blue transformation. Now, which of the following combinations about the 4 betters proposed by FAO for blue transformation is correct? Now, see, it might at prima facie look like a very factual based question कि भाई आता है तो आता है, नहीं आता है तो नहीं आता है. But the learning lesson, more importantly for the new aspirants which are entering into the stream for UPSC is कि भाई United Nations और उसकी सारी agencies और all other international organizations of substantial importance should be covered as a part of your preparation. FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization is an important aspect. तो उसका कोई भी initiative conference वगैरह होती है तो we need to be abreast about those changes. So the right answer is B. Better production, better nutrition and better environment and better life. Right answer is B. Again a very fact-based question. Let us come to the next question. Question number 29. Which of the following statements with reference to Lake Turkana is or are correct? First one is, it is the largest desert lake in the world. Yes, correct. This is a correct statement that ये world का largest desert based lake है. ठीक है. Then second statement is the lake is situated in South Sudan along the eastern fringes of Sahara Desert. अब यहाँ पे आपका जो ट्रेडिशनल ज्योग्राफी का मैपिंग वाला नॉलेज है, दैट कम्स हैंडी, राइट. सो टेक अवे पॉइंट अगेन इज बी वेरी कॉशियस, बी वेरी अवेयर अबाउट द मैपिंग पोर्शंस ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. ठीक है. अब एक चीज़ तो ये हो गई. दूसरी चीज़, अनदर थिंग टू अंडरस्टैंड इज यूपीएससी जनरली प्लेज एट बाउंड्रीज, कि वो क्या गेम प्ले करता है. हाउ डू दे ले ट्रैप्स? दे ले ट्रैप्स इन ए मैनर कि भाई दो कंट्रीज़ का जो बाउंड्री है उसको चेंज कर दो, बदल दो. यहाँ पे भी उन्होंने सेम किया है. इट लाइज एट द बाउंड्री ऑफ केन्या एंड इथोपिया. ठीक है. The lake is situated in South Sudan along the eastern fringes of Sahara Desert. So statement 2 is incorrect. The lake is listed as UNESCO World Heritage Site and also referred as Jade Sea. Again, this statement is correct because of its very color. Its colored is turquoise blue kind of color. तो वही पिक्चरस लैंडस्केप होता है वहाँ पे, बहुत अच्छा ब्लूइश कलर, टॉर्क्वाइज कलर होता है, इसीलिए उसको जेड सी के नाम से भी बोलते हैं. सो स्टेटमेंट 3 इज करेक्ट, विच एंटर्स द आंसर एज बी, राइट. Next question is question number 31. Now consider the following statements with reference to India's response to climate change. Again, this question is geography environment plus interface of aptitude. Your aptitude based questions for problem solving. ठीक है. Consider the following statements with reference to India's response to climate change. Statement 1. ठीक है. ये ट्रेडिशनली जो असर्शन रीजन बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस होते हैं ना, उन्हीं का एक देयर इज ए न्यूअर फॉर्म है. ठीक है. इंडियाज लॉन्ग टर्म लो एमिशन डेवलपमेंट स्ट्रैटेजी, दैट इज LEDS, इज ए क्रूशियल टूल फॉर अचीविंग नेट जीरो एमिशंस बाय 2070. ठीक है. यानी स्पीकिंग, ये जो कंसिडरेशन के लिए स्टेटमेंट्स दिए हैं वो सारे करेक्ट हैं. सो ये लॉन्ग टर्म स्ट्रेटेजी कब ली थी? कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑफ पार्टीज 27 में हमने लॉन्ग टर्म स्ट्रेटेजी अप्रूव करी थी, राइट. द सेकेंड स्टेटमेंट इज इंडियाज 4th बाइएनियल रिपोर्ट सबमिटेड इन December 2024 रिकॉर्डेड अराउंड 8% डिक्रीज इन ग्रीन हाउस गैस एमिशंस इन 2020 ओवर 2019. भाई बात ठीक भी है, बिकॉज कंटेक्स्ट इज कोविड-19 के कारण हमारे एमिशंस काफ़ी सिग्निफिकेंटली लो हो गए थे, राइट. एंड द स्टेटमेंट नंबर 3 इज क्लाइमेट रेजिलियंट डेवलपमेंट नेसेसरीली, यहाँ पे फोकस एम्फेसाइज करना है, नेसेसरीली डिपेंड्स ऑन क्विक एंड शॉर्ट टर्म अचीवमेंट, ठीक है, ऑफ एमिशन रिडक्शन टारगेट्स. तो आप खुद ही लॉजिकली सोचो कि अगर कोई चीज़ लॉन्ग टर्म हमें करनी है, रेजिलिएंट किसी चीज़ को करना है, तो कभी भी शॉर्ट टर्म और क्विक सॉल्यूशन से कोई चीज़ रेजिलिएंट नहीं होती. ठीक है. अभी इसको होल्ड पे करते हैं. नाउ विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग रिलेशनशिप्स अमंग द अबव स्टेटमेंट्स इज आर करेक्ट? स्टेटमेंट 1 इज एम्पेरिकली सपोर्टेड बाय स्टेटमेंट 2. नाउ खुद रीड द क्वेश्चन. पहले में क्या बोल रहा है कि LT-LEDs इज ए क्रूशियल टूल फॉर अचीविंग नेट जीरो एमिशंस बाय 2020. ये ठीक है. और इज स्टेटमेंट नंबर 2 सपोर्टिंग स्टेटमेंट नंबर 1? इंडियाज बाइनियल अपडेट रिपोर्ट सबमिटेड इन December 4 सेज दैट 8% डिक्रीज भी हो गया है भाई, वो ये बोल रहा है. ठीक है. सो स्टेटमेंट 1 इज करेक्ट. Now statement 3 contradicts the approach implicit in statement 1. Let us again read statement 1. India's long-term low emission development strategy is a crucial tool for achieving net zero emissions by 2070. और थर्ड स्टेटमेंट में क्या बात कर रहा है वो? क्लाइमेट रेजिलियंट डेवलपमेंट नेसेसरीली, एक तो बहुत ही एब्सोल्यूट सा स्टेटमेंट हो गया है कि नेसेसरीली नहीं भाई, ऐसे ही होगा. कैसे? क्विक और शॉर्ट टर्म अचीवमेंट के साथ ही होगा. तो ये दोनों क्या कर रहा है? कॉन्ट्राडिक्ट्स द अप्रोच. ठीक है. कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन यहाँ पे समझ में आ गया. स्टेटमेंट 2 भी हो गया. लेट अस रीड स्टेटमेंट नंबर 3. स्टेटमेंट 1 एंड स्टेटमेंट 3 टुगेदर एस्टैब्लिश द प्रीमाइस फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म सस्टेनेबिलिटी. अब यहाँ देखो, यहाँ पे कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन है कि ये दोनों चीज़ें क्या कर रही हैं? इधर इट कुड बी 1 and 2 और 2 and 3 विल नॉट गो टुगेदर. ठीक है. क्योंकि यहाँ पे एक समय पे लॉन्ग टर्म की बात हो रही है स्टेटमेंट नंबर 1 में, और यहाँ पे क्विक एंड शॉर्ट टर्म अचीवमेंट की बात हो रही है. तो 3 इज एलिमिनेटेड. द राइट आंसर वुड बी B, 1 and 2. राइट आंसर वुड बी B. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग, लेट अस रीड 39. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग Which of the following are the most significant implications of obtaining OICOTEX certification for Aerie silk in global textile industry? ठीक है, तो अब पहली बात तो ये है कि सिल्क अगेन इज ए इम्पॉर्टेंट आस्पेक्ट ऑफ योर प्रीलिम्स एग्जामिनेशन. सिल्क के ऊपर काफ़ी बार वेराइटीज ऑफ सिल्क वेरियस काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस हैव बीन आस्क्ड इन द पास्ट एज वेल. तो ये चीज़ हमें ध्यान में रखनी चाहिए थी. ठीक है, सो व्हाट इज एसेंशियली द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ एरी सिल्क? ठीक है, दिस इज द फर्स्ट क्रुएल्टी फ्री सिल्क इन इंडिया. ठीक है, इट इज़ प्रोड्यूस्ड इन नॉर्थ ईस्ट. अब दूसरी चीज़ है ओइकोटेक्स सर्टिफिकेशन. नाउ दिस पर्टिकुलर सर्टिफिकेशन इज गिवन टू merchandise or various kind of cloths, merchandise, so on and forth, जो कि which are free from chemical exposure. जो dyeing industry, cotton industry, textile industry होती है, उसमें various kind of chemicals are used for furnishing the end products. But this particular OICOTEX certification is given to those kind of merchandise which is free of those harmful chemicals. ठीक है, let us read the statements in this context. It allows Indian exporters to compete in high-end markets that prioritize chemical-free product. ठीक है, chemical-free products है, right? Then it confirms that Aerie silk meets international safety, environmental and quality standards, enabling its entry into premium and eco-conscious markets like, for example, it could be European Union. So statement number 2 is also correct. Right answer is C, both A and B. Next question is question number 41. ठीक है, match list 1 with list 2 and select the answers using code given below. List 1 is the color of notice and list 2 is its description. So what is Interpol? Interpol basically is a short form for international police. ठीक है, और international police के jurisdiction में there are 8 kind of international notices that they publish with respect to prevention of crime and control of crime, transboundary crime. ठीक है, so color coding का mechanism क्या है? There are 8 kind of notices, out of which उन्होंने 4 colored notices उठाए और उसके ऊपर match the following kind of question frame कर दिया है. First is silver notice. So the purpose of silver notice is to identify and trace criminal assets. A4. ठीक है, सेकेंड इज ब्लू नोटिस. ब्लू नोटिस का द राइट आंसर इज टू कलेक्ट एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट पर्सनस आइडेंटिटी, लोकेशन और एक्टिविटीज इन रिलेशन टू ए क्रिमिनल इन्वेस्टिगेशन. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट इज ब्लैक नोटिस. ब्लैक नोटिस इज टू सीक इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट द बेसिकली द डिसीज्ड पर्सनस. ठीक है, डेड बॉडीज के इंफॉर्मेशन सीक करने के लिए होता है. एंड ग्रीन नोटिस इज टू प्रोवाइड वार्निंग अबाउट पर्सनस क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटीज when the person is considered to be a possible threat to the public safety without arresting. जो information gather की जा सकती है with respect to a particular criminal or potential criminal, ठीक है, वो यूज़ की उसके लिए यूज़ किया जाता है ग्रीन नोटिस. So the right answer would be C. Next question. 43. The Chancellor of Germany. The Chancellor of Federal Republic of Germany visited India in January 2026. Now, which of the following are not correct? ये चीज़ यहाँ पे कई लोगों का मिस हुआ है. Not correct पूछा था भाई यहाँ पे. ठीक है, not correct. Not correct in terms of outcomes of the visit. ठीक है, तो there have been certain outcomes. और ये क्वेश्चन डायरेक्टली MEA की वेबसाइट से उठाया है. MEA की वेबसाइट पे डायरेक्टली पेज है, वहाँ पे there was information with respect to outcomes or the memorandums which have been signed with reference to the visit of the vice chancellor. एक क्वेश्चन डला हुआ था वहाँ पे, वहाँ से डायरेक्टली उठाया. फर्स्ट वन, स्टेटमेंट 1, साइनिंग ऑफ ए मेमोरेंडम ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग बिटवीन ऑल इंडिया इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ आयुर्वेदा एंड द यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ हैम्बर्ग. सो to the extent ki the memorandum was signed, it is correct. To the extent that the memorandum was signed between All India Institute of Ayurveda, it is correct. But university का नाम flip कर दिया. The university name has been changed. It is not University of Hamburg, it is University of Charité, right? Second, so first statement is wrong. Signing of a memorandum of understanding of youth hockey development between Hockey India and German Hockey Federation. This statement is correct. First one is incorrect, second one is correct. Third one, establishment of a bilateral dialogue mechanism on the Indo-Pacific. Again, this statement is correct. एंड द फोर्थ स्टेटमेंट, जनरली वहीं पे ट्रैप्स प्ले करता है यूपीएससी, वो क्या बचेगा, ठीक है, इंस्टीट्यूट का नाम चेंज कर दो, अथॉरिटी का नाम चेंज कर दो, लोकेशन का नाम चेंज कर दो. इफ़ यू सी इन द प्रीवियस दैट पर्टिकुलर लेक क्वेश्चन ऑल्सो द नेम ऑफ द कंट्री वॉज चेंज. यहाँ पे भी क्या किया है, ओपनिंग ऑफ ऑनररी काउंसिल ऑफ जर्मनी इन लखनऊ. इट इज़ नॉट लखनऊ, इट इज़ अहमदाबाद. इट इज़ इन अहमदाबाद. ठीक है. सो स्टेटमेंट 4 इज करेक्ट विच इज रेंडरिंग बी एज द करेक्ट आंसर. विच वन ऑफ देम आर इनकरेक्ट? Statement 1 and 4 are incorrect. That is, the right answer is B. Next question, the Bureau of Indian Standards, that is question number 45. The Bureau of Indian Standards recently introduced a national standard to test and assess bomb disposal system. ठीक है. Which of the following statements with reference to this system are correct? ठीक है. तो first statement is with reference to nomenclature. ठीक है. तो the statement, the new standard is known as IS 19445 to 2025. So this statement is factual. बहुत ज़्यादा factual है. You cannot do anything here. ठीक है. तो factual question है. Statement 1 is correct. Next, second one. This will improve the interoperability of equipment across agencies. ठीक है. Obviously these kind of equipments are used by various agencies as well. तो स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन कुछ भी चीज़ का होता है तो इट इम्प्रूव्स द इंटरऑपरेबिलिटी. लॉजिक है यहाँ पे. इफ़ देर इज़ यूनिफॉर्म स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ एप्लीकेशन और ऑफ यूसेज अक्रॉस वेरियस एजेंसीज, तो वो इंटरऑपरेबिलिटी और ईजी बनाता है चीज़ों को करने के लिए. तो स्टेटमेंट 2 इज़ करेक्ट. नेक्स्ट, इट वॉज डेवलप्ड बाय TBRL DRDO इन कोलैबोरेशन विद 30th सेंट्रल साइंटिफिक रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट रशिया. तो पहली बात तो ये थोड़ा सा ए पिंच ऑफ सॉल्ट के साथ इस स्टेटमेंट को लेना चाहिए कि भाई इंडिया हैज़ बिकम सो मच सेल्फ रिलायंट एंड आत्मनिर्भर दैट वी शुड नॉट बी रिलायंट, और वी आर रादर नॉट रिलायंट ऑन कंट्रीज़, ऑन द फॉरेन कंट्रीज़, कि भाई इन सब छोटी मोटी चीज़ों के लिए तो हम सेल्फ रिलायंट हो ही गए हैं. एंड दूसरा, इफ़ यू रिमेंबर, ये एक स्पेसिफिक इन्फॉर्मेशन दी गई है कि 30th सेंट्रल साइंटिफिक रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट, this is 30th Central Scientific Research Institute. This is too specific, very specific information दी गई है यहाँ पे. तो अगेन एक there is a high propensity और high chance कि ये वाला question, ये वाला statement गलत होगा. And nevertheless, this particular department, that is 30th Central Scientific Research Institute, Russia, deals with aviation. ठीक है, that is specifically military aviation. So statement number 3 is incorrect. Right answer is C, 1 and 2. Next question is, अब यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा एक kind of disappointment with UPSC, which not just I felt, even many students and the other stakeholders also have felt with UPSC, that this particular question appears to be very, very matlab not up to the standards or marks of the UPSC, right? Let's read the question. X, born in UK, was conferred with Nobel Prize in 2025. He was a professor in an American university when this prize was announced. Identify X. So the right answer obviously is John Clark. ठीक है, John Clark. So now he is famous for quantum mechanical tunneling. He got his Nobel Prize in Physics in 2025. Physics, क्वांटम मैकेनिकल टनलिंग. तो भाई क्वेश्चन बनाना था, द बॉडी कुड हैव इजीली फ्रेम्ड क्वेश्चन ऑन क्वांटम, द प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ क्वांटम मैकेनिकल टनलिंग. दैट वुड हैव बीन मोर फिटिंग एंड अप्रोप्रिएट. ठीक है, अप्रोप्रिएट क्वेश्चन. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज क्वेश्चन नंबर 47. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट्स विद रिगार्ड टू ग्रैंड स्लैम टेनिस टूर्नामेंट, statements with regard to the Grand Slam tennis tournament is or are correct? Now again, this question might have come as a shocker for many students, but again क्या रहा है, learn to notice the patterns कि डिफेंस से क्वेश्चन आने शुरू हो गए हैं. तो we need to start preparing on defense and military technology. स्पोर्ट्स से कई बार क्वेश्चन आने शुरू हो गए हैं, तो वी नीड टू कीप एन आई ऑन स्पोर्ट्स एज वेल, कि स्पोर्ट्स, ओलंपिक्स, फेडरेशंस, ठीक है, इन सब से क्वेश्चन आ रहे हैं, तो वी नीड टू स्टडी अबाउट देम. ठीक है. द फर्स्ट पॉइंट इज द टूर्नामेंट हैव ए शेयर्ड गवर्नेंस स्ट्रक्चर. 4 ग्रैंड स्लैम होते हैं, उनके बारे में बात करें. तो द टूर्नामेंट्स हैव ए शेयर्ड गवर्नेंस स्ट्रक्चर एस्टैब्लिशिंग द पार्टनरशिप among the 4 Grand Slam tournaments. Yes, statement 1 is correct. shared governance structure नहीं होगा तो यूनिफॉर्मिटी नहीं आएगी. यूनिफॉर्मिटी नहीं आएगी तो रैंकिंग्स कैसे डिसाइड होंगी. ठीक है. They are open for entry for all internationally ranked tennis player above the age of 14. तो दो crucial points to notice over here. एक तो यहाँ पे age दिया हुआ है, age of 14. तो ये 14 से नीचे का तो minor हो जाएगा. ठीक है. दूसरा open to entry for all internationally ranked tennis players. So आप खुद ही सोचो, logically and logistically सोचो कि if it is open to entry for all internationally ranked players. For example, let us imagine me, I have a international ranking in tennis of 10,000. Can I participate in French Open? Can I go and participate in United States Open, Australian Open, Wimbledon, right? तो all के लिए नहीं है. ठीक है. It is open to participation up to the ranking of 500. तो उतना ही होगा तो लॉजिस्टिकली उनके पास पॉसिबल होगा कि दे विल बी लॉजिस्टिकली एबल टू हैंडल दैट क्राउड एंड सक्सेसफुली एबल टू कंडक्ट द टूर्नामेंट. सो स्टेटमेंट नंबर 2 इज इनकरेक्ट बिकॉज इट इज नॉट ओपन टू ऑल. अप टू 500 रैंक होगी आपकी तो यू कैन एंटर द टूर्नामेंट. थर्ड वन इज देर इज ए लिमिटेशन. There is a limitation on the number of wild cards a player may receive to compete in Grand Slam. Again, the code of conduct, the book of conduct says that there is no limitation on the number of wild cards which can be issued. Statement again number 3 is incorrect. Right answer is C. One only. Correct answer is C. Let us come to question number 48. Which of the following pairs of semiconductor plants in India and their location is not correctly matched? Sorry to say again, this is a very purely factual question. But why it has been picked? Because India again is pushing for a lot of semiconductor plants, and there was a lot of news of private sector entering and making semiconductor plants, especially in northeastern region. ठीक है. तो first one is CG Power and Industrial Solutions Private Limited in partnership with Renaissance Electronics and Stars Microelectrics. So first one is, the statement is correct because the plant has been made in Gujarat, Sanand district of Gujarat. Second one is Tata Semiconductor Assembly and Test Facilities Private Limited. That is correct. It is being built at Assam. Third one, HCL Foxconn Joint Venture India Chip Limited. The option given is Madhya Pradesh. So this one is wrong. This particular plant is being built at Uttar Pradesh. Yamuna Expressway International Development Authority, YEIDA. YEIDA, Yamuna Expressway Industrial Development Authority, that is in Uttar Pradesh. This particular plant is being built. So right answer would be C. C is not the correct match. And the fourth one is correct. 6M Private Limited, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. ठीक है. तो right answer is C. Question number 50. Consider the following statements with regard to film Boong. ठीक है. So again, why important? Why? Because first time in India. यही इसका significance है कि this is particularly the first film that has won BAFTA prize. ठीक है. The film has recently won the British Academy of Film and Television Arts Awards in the Children and Family category. First statement is correct. The film is directed by Lakshmi Priya Devi. Second statement is correct. This is the first Indian film to win a BAFTA award in Children's and Family film category. Again, statement number 3 is also correct. All three option is right answer is A. Let us come to question number 60. Which of the following statements about rare earth elements and critical minerals is or are correct? Again, rare earth element, continuously UPSC is asking questions from them. तो हमारा ऑब्लिगेशन बन जाता है कि वी नीड टू स्टडी and see this particular topic in a comprehensive manner. तो अब क्या है, क्वेश्चन क्या है, they'll integrate current affairs also, they'll integrate one statement from science, they'll integrate one statement from geography, they'll integrate one statement with respect to particular MOU, ठीक है, they'll integrate one statement with respect to economy. भाई this is a topic. REE को देखने के कई सारे तरीके हैं. एक केमिस्ट्री वाला एंगल है कि what is the chemistry behind it, ठीक है, what is the elements, what are the elements behind it, what is the economy behind it, what is the geography behind it, what is the trade behind it. तो हमें comprehensively देखना है उन questions को, right? This is the takeaway. First, modern technological innovations including artificial intelligence, robotics and space exploration extensively utilize rare earth elements, statement being very correct. Second, China is the highest share in mining of REEs follows by India. यहाँ पे trap है. पहला, China is correct. China has the highest share, but India is nowhere. ठीक है. India is nowhere behind. Leave alone number 2. India is nowhere behind. तो statement number 2 is incorrect. ये हमें understanding होनी चाहिए कि हमारा what is our policy, what is our vision, what is our current standing with respect to exploration and exploitation of rare earth minerals. Statement number 2 being incorrect. Statement number 3, the government of India has launched National Critical Mineral Mission in 2025 to establish robust framework for self-reliance in the critical mineral sector. देखो अभी तो प्रोग्राम ही 25 में लॉन्च हुआ है, ठीक है, तो 25 में प्रोग्राम जब लॉन्च हुआ है तो हम नंबर 2 कैसे हो जाएंगे? एक तो ये भी लॉजिक लगाने वाली बात है, ठीक है. सो स्टेटमेंट नंबर 3 बीइंग करेक्ट. एंड फोर्थ इज रियर अर्थ एलिमेंट्स आर ए सेट ऑफ 13 मेटेलिक एलिमेंट्स, ठीक है. यहाँ पे अगेन एक तो ये हो गया ट्रैप समझने वाला कि नंबर आ रहा है तो यू नीड टू बी कॉशियस. पहला एंगल तो देखने का ये हो गया. दूसरा कि व्हेन वी आर स्टडिंग, no need to rely on traps as well. When we are studying we need to be very cautious कि भाई rare, what is the number of rare earth elements, ठीक है. तो it is the total number is 17. So what is the right code? Answer would be A, 1 and 3. 1 correct, 3 correct, 2 incorrect, 4 incorrect. Answer would be A. Let us come to question number 61. Which of the following statement about insurance in aviation sector is or are correct? Now it is there are no points for guessing why this question may or may not have come, because of the Ahmedabad plane crash, right? Because of that particular tragedy this question has come. Let us read statement 1. Aviation hull insurance covers the physical aircraft including the body, engine and onboard equipment. तो जब हल इंश्योरेंस बोल रहे हैं तो हल कवर्स द, हल का मतलब ये होता है कि द एंटायर शेप ऑफ दैट एयरक्राफ्ट, मीन्स इट इज द एविएशन इंश्योरेंस विच इज़ द हल इंश्योरेंस वुड कवर द एंटायर कंपोनेंट ऑफ द एयरक्राफ्ट, मेन फ्रेम, टेल, विंग्स, इंजन्स, कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इंश्योरेंस, ठीक है. तो स्टेटमेंट 1 इज करेक्ट. नाउ लेट अस कम टू स्टेटमेंट 2. Under the Montreal Convention adopted in 1999 by over 130 countries, including India, airlines are strictly liable to pay compensation to the family nominee of each deceased passenger without requiring family to prove fault. ठीक है. तो obviously the point to understand over here is that in this protocol, Montreal Convention, यहाँ पे strict liability principle है, strict liability, ठीक है. तो even if there is no fault of yours, you are still held liable in to provide compensation. Right answer C, both 1 and 2. Correct answer is C. Let us come to question number 85 now. Question number 85. Yes. So 85 question is a little bit ambiguous question. यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा एक element of doubt है. We'll leave it to UPSC to decide what it gives as a correct answer. But let us see the question first. Consider the following statements about Mission Sudarshan Chakra of India. So what is Mission Sudarshan Chakra? Again, the name is inspired by Shri Krishna's, Lord Shri Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra. तो Sudarshan Chakra क्या था? एक weapon था. It used to provide a complex and comprehensive coverage. जहाँ भी वो सुदर्शन चक्र जाता था सारे एनिमीज़ को मार देता था. सिमिलरली सुदर्शन चक्र मिशन इज़ टू प्रोवाइड ए कॉम्प्लेक्स मल्टी लेयर्ड ग्रिड, ठीक है, कॉम्प्लेक्स मल्टी लेयर्ड ग्रिड, ठीक है. वो पर्पस क्या है, कोई भी एनिमी ऑब्जेक्ट आ रहा है, इट विल बी शॉट डाउन. इफ इट पासेस दिस, इट विल बी शॉट डाउन हियर. एनिमी पार्टिकल आ रहा है, it will be shot down here at the first layer. If it passes the first layer, it will be shot down at the second layer. ठीक है. First one, it aims to enhance India's air defense, ballistic missile defense and aerial offensive capabilities. Obviously air defense program है, multi-layered interlocking multi-layered system है, ठीक है, to protect the airspace of the country. First statement being correct. Second statement, the mission is being designed to enhance rapid, precise and powerful defense response, reinforcing India's strategic autonomy. ठीक है, तो हम जब सेफ हैं, हमारे critical assets safe हैं, will be better able to plan our response in case of strike capability, right? So second statement is also correct. ठीक है. And the third one is, one of the aims of the mission is to cover all public spaces, ठीक है, of India by an expanded nationwide security shield by 2035. Futuristic mission है, the things are still in flux कि भाई क्या होगा क्या नहीं होगा, but as of now this terminology that all public spaces, had it been key public spaces, statement 1 2 3 all would have been correct. But as of now, because it is a sweeping statement that all public spaces, again will have to reassess our competency with respect to the efficacy of development of program and implementation, more importantly implementation of program. ठीक है, तो तब तक देखते हैं. But as of now, let us go with B, that is 1 and 2 only. Again we'll leave it to UPSC. I'm making a star mark over here. The answer could be A also, ठीक है, but most likely the answer would be B. Let's come to the next question. What is the next question? Question number 89. Yes, question number 89. Which of the following international conventions have not been ratified by India? ठीक है, अभी again the point to understand, the point to focus in such kind of questions is the keyword not, which have not been ratified. Let's read out. First one is the Employment Policy Convention. This has been ratified. The Employment Policy Convention has been ratified. Second one is Abolition of Forced Labor Convention. This has again been ratified. Third one, protection of rights of all migrant workers and members of their families. No, this convention has not been ratified. Fourth, the Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilian persons in the time of war, statement convention number 4 again has been ratified. And the convention number 5, convention on reduction of statelessness. Again, India has various reservations and issues with respect to how this particular convention has been framed, and again the reservations are with respect to the nature of South Asian societies in which statelessness is a big issue, right? With respect to, let us say, we can say Rohingyas also, right? So इसीलिए यहाँ पे बहुत सारे reservations हैं इंडिया को, तो इसलिए we have not ratified convention on reduction of statelessness. So the right answer ideally should be 3 and 5. अब ये वाला तो किसी स्टेटमेंट में दिया नहीं है, ठीक है. स्टेटमेंट C says, A says 2 and 4, B says 1 and 2, C says 3 and 4, and D says 3, 4 and 5. ठीक है. So again, most likely this question is going to be dropped, or the answer is going to be D. We'll go with drop. Let's come to the next question, question number 90. Consider the following statements with respect to AI Impact Summit 2026 held in New Delhi. अभी देखा था, recently हुआ था, right? So the summit intellectual framework was based on 3 foundational sutras. Focus on the sutras, focus on the keywords. First one being people, second planning and progress. तो यहाँ पे उन्होंने एक statement में एक keyword को flip कर दिया. It is not planning, it is planet. स्टेटमेंट नंबर 1 हो गया wrong. The preamble of the summit stresses on democratizing AI resources, which acknowledges the Charter for Democratic Diffusion of AI as a binding framework. ठीक है, अभी कहाँ से बाइंडिंग फ्रेमवर्क हो जाएगा? if it would be a binding framework, nobody is going to come and sign that framework. So statement number 2 would also be incorrect statement. नॉन बाइंडिंग फ्रेमवर्क है. ठीक है. द न्यू दिल्ली डिक्लेरेशन ऑन AI impact was structured around 7 chakras or 7 pillars, which include access to social empowerment, AI for sciences, and secure and trusted AI. Yes, statement number 3 being correct. जनरलिस्ट सा स्टेटमेंट है, ऑल एनकम्पासिंग ब्रॉड स्टेटमेंट है. स्टेटमेंट नंबर 3 वुड बी करेक्ट. आंसर वुड बी डी. तो की टेक अवे पॉइंट वुड हैव बीन रीडिंग द स्टेटमेंट कॉशियसली. प्लानिंग की कहाँ बात होगी? प्लानिंग की बात नहीं होगी, प्लानट की बात होगी. ठीक है. एंड मैंडेटरी और बाइंडिंग फ्रेमवर्क, बाइंडिंग फ्रेमवर्क नहीं है. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन 91. Which of the following connectivity projects are a part of cooperation between India and ASEAN countries? तो a common student who has been studying for UPSC for, let us say, even 1 year or so, connectivity projects are important aspect of UPSC preparation, be it physical connectivity or be it a mineral or material connectivity projects. So the statement 1, Kaladan multimodal transit project, yes, it is a connectivity project between India and ASEAN countries, Northeast and ASEAN countries, yes. Second one is IMT trilateral highway, yes, again it is again associated with Northeast and connectivity on Northeast to ASEAN countries. But the third one is Agartala Akhora rail line. Again this Akhora is a place which lies in Bangladesh. ठीक है. So this one is not associated with ASEAN. Correct answer being 1 and 2 A. Let us come to question number 93 as a miscellaneous question. Which of the following items of defense hardware is or are manufactured in India? तो देख लो, कई बार यूपीएससी ने 4th जनरेशन फाइटर प्लेन कौन सा है, मिलिट्री और डिफेंस टेक्नोलॉजी अपकमिंग, emerging, these kind of questions has been asked in the same spirit. They have asked कि प्रोडक्शन किन मिलिट्री हार्डवेयर और मिलिट्री इक्विपमेंट्स का इंडिया में हो रहा है. द फर्स्ट वन इज सुखोई 30 MKI fighter jets. Yes, Sukhoi 30 MKI fighter jets have been acquired from Russia in the initial times, but now they are manufactured, fully manufactured in India. That is Nashik HAL factory में they are manufactured. Second one is T90 Mk3 tanks. So again these T90 Mk3 tanks are manufactured in Tamil Nadu, Avadi district of Tamil Nadu. 1 and 2 being correct. Now Akula class submarine. So this again Akula class submarine, one of them was imported or leased from Russia for a long term lease, but it has been returned. So इसकी manufacturing India में नहीं होती. However, we do have our indigenous nuclear submarine development program. ठीक है. But Akula class is not manufactured in India. In fact, it is manufactured in Russia, Sevmesh shipyard. Sevmesh in northern Russia. ठीक है. Statement 3 being incorrect. Right answer is 1 and 2A. 94. Consider the following statements about platform for multilateral cooperation. ठीक है. The question has been directly picked from MEA website. ठीक है. The Colombo process is a regional consultative process in which member states take binding decision by consensus. Again focus or emphasize on the word reading of the word binding. ठीक है. is a regional जब ये consultative process है in which member states take binding decisions by consensus, so it could be decision by consensus and it is very difficult for it to be binding. So these kind of absolute sweeping statements should be read with a pinch of salt. ठीक है. Second one, the Abu Dhabi dialogue is a voluntary non-binding. ठीक है. अब यहाँ पे क्यों इन्होंने मैंडेटरीली नॉन बाइंडिंग डाला? वहाँ पे इट इज़ गोइंग इन द सिमिलर स्पिरिट ना, कि वॉलेंट्री है, नॉन बाइंडिंग है, ठीक है. नॉन बाइंडिंग कंसल्टेटिव प्रोसेस अमंग आसियान एशियन कंट्रीज ऑफ लेबर ओरिजिन, ठीक है. तो जो कोलंबो प्रोसेस में कंट्रीज इन्वॉल्व हैं, दोज आर द कंट्रीज विच आर लेबर एक्सपोर्टिंग कंट्रीज. एंड जो अबू धाबी डायलॉग में कंट्रीज इन्वॉल्व है, वो सारी कंट्रीज हैं विच आर लेबर एक्सपोर्टिंग प्लस लेबर इम्पोर्टिंग कंट्रीज ऑफ द मिडिल ईस्टर्न रीजन, ठीक है. तो अबू धाबी डायलॉग हैज़ बोथ एक्सपोर्टिंग एंड इम्पोर्टिंग कंट्रीज ऑफ लेबर. तो नॉन बाइंडिंग कंसल्टेटिव प्रोसेस अमंग एशियन कंट्रीज ऑफ ओरिजिन, लेबर ओरिजिन एंड डेस्टिनेशन टू फैसिलिटेट रीजनल कोऑपरेशन एंड कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल लेबर मोबिलिटी. स्टेटमेंट 2 इज करेक्ट. The third one, the Global Forum for Migration and Development, created upon by the proposal of former United Nations Secretary General. किन्होंने किया था? कोफी अन्नान थे एक, कोफी अन्नान. He had proposed this particular Global Forum for Migration and Development. is a voluntary forum, ठीक है, voluntary forum है, ठीक है, समझ रहे हो, लग रहा है कि most likely this would be a correct one. whose decisions are non binding in nature. भैया लेना है, एक्सेप्ट करना है तो करो, नहीं करना है तो मत करो, बट यू विल बिकम ए पार्ट ऑफ ब्रॉडर फ्रेमवर्क इफ यू एक्सेप्ट इट, ठीक है. तो राइट आंसर इज बी 2 and 3 इंक्लूसिव स्टेटमेंट्स हैं, सॉरी C 2 and 3. राइट आंसर वुड बी C 2 and 3. लेट्स कम टू क्वेश्चन नंबर 95. कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग यूनाइटेड नेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस और एजेंसीज. अब कोई लेना देना नहीं है, बस आउट ऑफ द रैंडम दे हैव पिक्ड अप सर्टेन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस एंड दे हैव पिक्ड कि कितनी बार नोबेल प्राइज़ मिला, ठीक है. बट द पॉइंट टू बी नोटेड इज नोबेल प्राइजेस हैव बीन इम्पॉर्टेंट दिस ईयर, क्योंकि फिजिक्स वाले नोबेल प्राइज़ पे क्वेश्चन आ गया और एक बार इस पे आ गया. एंड मोर इम्पॉर्टेंटली यूनाइटेड नेशंस की एजेंसीज हैव बिकम इम्पॉर्टेंट. द फर्स्ट वन इज़ वर्ल्ड फूड प्रोग्राम, सिर्फ एक बार नोबेल प्राइज़ मिला था 2020 में. सेकेंड इज़ यूनाइटेड नेशंस चिल्ड्रंस एमरजेंसी फंड, चिल्ड्रंस फंड 1965, सिर्फ एक बार मिला था 1965. थर्ड वन इज़ यूनाइटेड नेशंस हाई कमिश्नर फॉर रेफ्यूजीज़, 2 बार मिल चुका है इसको, 2 बार मिल चुका है, 1954, 1981, ठीक है. एंड द फोर्थ वन इज़ इंटरनेशनल लेबर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, ओनली वंस 1969. तो क्या पूछा है, कितनी कंट्रीज़ को, कितने एजेंसीज़ को इनमें से 2 बार नोबेल प्राइज़ मिला है. राइट आंसर इज़ A1, ओनली वन. विच वन इज़ इट? हाई कमिश्नर फॉर रेफ्यूजीज़, ठीक है. एंड अगेन यूनाइटेड नेशंस हाई कमिश्नर फॉर रेफ्यूजीज़ हैज़ बीन इन न्यूज़ बिकॉज ऑफ द इज़राइल पैलेस्टीन इशू, ठीक है. तो उनको कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली देखना था हमें. 96. मैच लिस्ट 1 with list 2 and select the answers using the code given below. So the first mission is United Nations mission on Liberia, ठीक है. So this was from 2003 to 2018, 2003 to 2018, A3. Second one is MINURCAT. This particular United Nations peacekeeping mission was from 2007 to 2010, B1. Third one is MINUSTA. This particular United Nations mission was in Haiti. This was from 2004 to 2017, C4, ठीक है. And D is East Timor, United Nations mission in East Timor. That was from 2002 to 2005. Right answer would be B. Match list 1 with list 2 and select the answers using code given below. 97, question number 97. So on list 1 they have given various BIMSTEC offices, and on list 2 they have given various countries or cities in which these offices have been situated. Purely factual question. It is rather better that we leave these kind of questions unless and until we have 2 to 3 specific information or knowledge about particular headquarters or cities on which these kind of institutions are based. Nevertheless, the right answer is C. The right answer is C. BIMSTEC cultural industry observatory is located in Thimphu. ठीक है. BIMSTEC Energy Center is located at Bengaluru. BIMSTEC Center for Weather and Climate is located at Noida, and BIMSTEC Technology Transfer Facility is located at Colombo, which makes the C as the correct answer. Again, a very interesting question with respect to military and security establishment of the country. ठीक है. Which of the following pairs is not correctly matched? More very important is to understand and focus on the word not correctly matched. So first they have given on the left side, they have given the course of Indian Army, and then on the right they have asked for the headquarters कि किस कोर का हेडक्वार्टर कहाँ पे है. तो the first कोर का हेडक्वार्टर is Dimapur, Nagaland. Yes, it is called as Dimapur in Nagaland. First one is correct. Second one is 4 Corps. It is famously called as Gajraj Corps also. It is in Tejpur. Where is Tejpur? Assam. ठीक है. 14 Corps. 14 Corps is called as Fire and Fury Corps. Leh, correct, correctly matched. The fourth one, or 33 Corps. ठीक है. 33 Corps is located not in Srinagar but in Siliguri. It is located in Siliguri, protecting the chicken's neck, right? So the right answer is, which is not correctly matched, D is not correctly matched. Right answer is D. Next, question number 99. Which of the following statements with respect to revamped Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan is or are correct? The first one statement, read out the first statement. The period of its implementation is April 1st, 2021 to 31st March 2026. Herein lies the trap कि year को flip कर दिया उन्होंने. It is not from 2021, rather 2022. ठीक है. Second one, the key objective of the revamped Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan is to develop the governance capabilities of Panchayati Raj institutions to deliver on the sustainable development goals. बहुत ही broad सा, welcoming सा, positive सा, affirmative, constructive statement लग रहा है. Yes, this is a correct one. The third one being the share of central funding for revamped RGSA is 100% for all state. एक तो यहाँ पे क्या हो गया कि अब तो ज़्यादातर उसमें सेंट्रल 100% की फंडिंग करता नहीं है. पहली बात तो कैच ये है कि 100%. दूसरा है all states. Two traps in one single statement make them incorrect. Right answer would be 2 only. Generally इसका जो status है, it is not 100% but rather 60% funding is given by center and the rest has to be borne by states, approximately 60%, right? Next, the last question for the set, that is which of the following countries are member of the European Union? Again a very favorite topic, European Union, Eurozone, everything associated with the European Union have been a focus area or favorite topic of UPSC. So just by eliminating or knowing that Switzerland is not part of you would have gotten the right answer. The right answer is C. That is point number countries number 2 and 3, 2 being Poland and 3 being Germany, which means Belarus and Switzerland are not part of European Union. That is the right answer. Let us again quickly see case study based questions which have appeared for the first time. Mr. X is a senior officer who was overseeing critical vaccination program during pandemic. He found out that private services providers which are responsible for vaccine distribution was compromising on the quality, this and that. Ye sab hua. He reported the issue to appropriate vigilance authority and halted the contract for ensure citizen welfare. Now, in doing the above, which of the following principles of public administration has been most strongly reflected or demonstrated by Mr. X? So point number 1, spirit decor. Spirit decor means a shared spirit or brotherhood between the employees, right? तो ऐसा कुछ तो डिस्प्ले किया नहीं है. हाई मोरल, हाई स्पिरिट, ऐसा कुछ डिस्प्ले नहीं किया है. सेकेंड इज प्रिंसिपल ऑफ इक्वलिटी. इक्विटी मीन्स फेयरनेस, जस्टिस, redistributive spirit, ऐसा भी कुछ डिस्प्ले नहीं किया है. थर्ड वन बीइंग अकाउंटेबिलिटी. ठीक है. So accountability in the terms of responsibility, obligation or responsiveness has been reflected by the officer, because first of all he took the cognizance of the matter and then he reported the same thing to vigilance authorities. So the most likely the right answer would be accountability. Let us see what is D. D, on the statement D, it is given delegation. Now what essentially means is meant by delegation is to delegate your powers, responsibilities and authorities to the subordinate authority. तो ऐसा कुछ delegation भी नहीं किया है. The right answer is accountability, C. That is accountability. Let us come to the next question. In a multi-ethnic district, where both economic competition and historical grievances frequently lead to community tensions, a decision to allocate land for waste management facility near a tribal hamlet so and so disposal site is needed. Tribals are saying that that the particular land is sacred for them, whereas there is a strong need from the urban population and local industry to develop a solid waste management site. ठीक है. अब उसके चक्कर में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट एस्केलेट हो गया. देयर हैव बीन रोड ब्लॉकेड, सोशल मीडिया कैंपेन्स एंड एलिगेशंस ऑफ पुलिस एक्सेसेस एज वेल. एज ए रिस्पॉन्सिबल गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल, you are tasked with resolving the situation through mediation. You have been tasked with the responsibility to mediate between the two parties or various stakeholders, ensuring a sustainable outcome. Sustainable outcome जो क्या होता है, जो कि long term तक it can be the principles and the contract can be upheld for a long term. ठीक है. That balances environmental needs, tribal rights and urban public health. Now consider the following statement. Pehla, a successful conflict resolution process must begin with acknowledging cultural concerns, right? So for statement 1 is right, because the first thing to resolution or amicable resolution of disputes is recognition that there is a dispute and there is acknowledgement of cultural concerns. Kinke cultural concerns? Cultural concerns of the tribals, that they consider the land as a sacred land. ठीक है. Statement 1 being correct. The government should statement 2, the government should move ahead with the project without delay to address urban health concerns which outweigh the sentiments of small group. भाई अब यहाँ किसने बोला कि जो urban concerns है they outweigh the concerns of the tribal and neglected people? No, ये तो बहुत ही गलत approach हो जाएगी ना. That this statement does not go with the approach of participative governance. ठीक है. Statement 2 being incorrect. Third, creating a multi-stakeholder dialogue platform. ठीक है, ये statement सही लग रहा है कि एक multi-stakeholder dialogue platform develop करेंगे including tribal leaders, representative, environmental experts. तो एक sustainable solution निकल सकता है. Statement 3 being correct. And statement 4, conducting an independent environmental and social impact assessment and sharing findings transparently with both sides, which will facilitate evidence-based decision making. So again, modern governance is all about making evidence-based decisions. So statement number 4 being also correct. Right answer would be A, 1, 3 and 4. Right answer would be A, 1, 3 and 4. Let us come to the last case study. Mr. X is a mid-level career civil services official in the urban development department of a major city. Recently, she was involved in approving contract for a public infrastructure project. A new community park has to be developed. तो साथ ही में क्या होता है कि there have been allegations she gets a secret or confidential information which indicate that the person who has been or the contractor who has been shortlisted to make that particular park has a history of poor workmanship and there have been allegations of corruption as well. Now when she is about to divulge this information, about to go ahead with this information, Mr. Y, who is the head of the department, he advises her not to disclose the information to the project committee or to the public, because first one, it could delay the project, और second one, उसका logic गड़बड़ है कि it could delay the project, यहाँ तक तो ठीक है, but it could damage the city's reputation. But however, there is a crisis of conscience in the mind of Miss X, and she believes that withholding such information could compromise the principles of transparency and public trust. Now it comes the operating part, that which among the following should Miss X do now? So पहला step is immediately disclose the information to the project committee and the public. this would be a very radical approach. This would be a very radical approach that is unbecoming of a civil servant. कि पहले हमेशा always exercise the insider channels, always exercise the insider departmental channels before going to the media, before going to the public. ठीक है, तो don't be a rebel without a cause. Always be a reasoned, seasoned civil servant. ठीक है, reasonableness, Article 14 demands reasonableness from a civil servant. ठीक है, statement 1 being incorrect. Statement 2, recommend removing the contractor from the shortlist to protect the project's integrity. Now, this is well accepted that the integrity of project has to be accepted, but at the same time, you have to always remember that वो जो allegation है, those have not been legally proved. They are just allegations as of now. So, you cannot recommend removing the contractor from the shortlist. That would again be a very radical move unless there is a departmental inquiry about the things, or about the veracity of the facts that have been laid in front of you, that have there been allegations of corruption. You have to check into that particular thing, right? So statement 2 is again dubious, questionable. Let's see statement number 3. Propose a limited disclosure fine to a oversight committee while keeping information confidential from the public for the time being. ये एक reasonable civil servant का behavior है. This shows a reasonable civil servant की you propose a limited disclosure to the oversight committee, you lay limited facts, limited disclosure in front of the oversight committee, and then based on the recommendations of the oversight committee, you go ahead with what the decision has to be taken with respect to the contractor. So most likely the answer would be A, but UPSC can go with 2 and 3 only, but most likely will go with answer as B. Okay, so B would be the right answer for question number 78. With this we conclude the discussion for the paper, one of the most challenging, bizarre, bewildering paper in past couple of years, many years in fact, and we wish you all the best to all our students and the students which have been watching us. Okay, we wish you all the best, and let us come and meet for the mains preparation at Anantam IAS.